switch over to a different screen. We'll see if I'm able to. Here we go. This is now live. So this should be live, reflecting an audience response. Again, just to sort of check in with you all, but I'm going to continue. Let's get this back up. Okay, great. So I want to give a little bit of context to who we are before we actually get into the weeds of it. So the Possible Zone is a Boston-based educational program for under-resourced high school students, and it really is at the intersection of hands-on maker education blended with entrepreneurism. So we are working with students for 1 to 3 years to help them launch their ideas into realities, as well as get them aligned with careers that work for their interest area. We just opened a 36,000 square foot innovation center in the middle of Boston earlier this year, although we've been running the program for about a decade. We currently serve 250 students. We'll be scaling that up over the next couple of years, and we primarily focus on after-school and in-school accredited programs. We partner with schools, universities, industry partners, community to help develop these experiences. So we include that bullet point here in case anyone else wants to speak later about becoming a potential partner with us or is interested in talking. And finally, just to give you a sense of how we're funded, it is primarily by private and corporate donors, although we do receive government grants, as well as funding from industry partners. And so one of the things that drives what we do, while it might be at the bottom, it is that it leads what our mission, which is that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And so who are we? Before I really get into like what we did, who are we? Jasenia is here, and she is an incredible leader at our organization. She has her doctorate in education, and her background is in mental health, social emotional learning. She can also bench press you, so just be forewarned. And she is the VP of Education. And myself, I'm Janet Hollingsworth. I'm an engineer by training, but I have also worked as an architect, a woodworker, a librarian, a community activist, and most recently, stitching all of those things together, a maker educator. And I am the Senior Director of STEAM and Innovation at the Possible Zone. I also attended Fab Academy this year. So there's that. All right, so really want to focus on a case study that was this summer. So like I said, we work with students for 1 to 3 years, but we're gonna talk about 2 weeks of what we did this summer because I think it really helps to orient the work that we all do in terms of diversifying inroads to creative fields in STEAM. So this summer, we did a 2-week paid internship, so students were given a stipend for participating with us to engage them with creative technologies, and it was through the lens of fashion. We had students transform clothing, tell a story, and enhance it with tech. 29 unique students participated in this program, as well as 5 educators who were also new to these technologies. So this was really a pro-am model of teaching collectively educators as well as students. The majority of our students did not identify with STEAM fields prior to this, so this was something that was very much on our mind in terms of how we oriented and developed and folded out the curriculum. Our driving questions that I think maybe are common to all of us here are how can we develop effective strategies to diversify inroads to STEAM fields, especially for students who have been historically marginalized. And that can be in any of the communities that we come from. How do we reorient those learning experiences to the student, especially around technology? So our goal today is to share that framework so that it can be adapted to a variety of different applications, and hopefully you find something relevant in this. Before I really get into the camp, I want to set the stage with an analogy here. So this maybe is a scene that we've all seen somewhere in our life where there's a paved road or sidewalk, and adjacent to it some kind of worn pathways that were maybe not intended. And you can kind of imagine that the architect behind this had an idea of where they wanted to take you from point A to point B, hence the paved road. But the user had maybe something different in mind, taking an alternative route. And so we can view this as the designer's plan and the desire path. These are sort of in conflict, though. This is not exactly a harmonious landscape. These things are sort of living in tension. We can further take this analogy to imagine that designer's plan, the architect's plan, as rigid curriculum or a traditionalist approach where you might have an idea of where you want to take your students from point A to point B, but perhaps your students are interested and curious about other things, and they may be divergent and taking a different path. When it looks like this, these things are not working together. You're often fighting one another, and it doesn't feel very good, right? You're always trying to repair or patch the grass, so to speak. So what if we do it a different way? What if we allow those desire paths to lead, and then we build the roads after? So this is a campus at the University of Michigan, I believe, where exactly that was happened. So the landscape designers allowed a year to go by where nothing was paved, and they saw where students walked and where they connected, and these different points of connection and direction. And they may still be going from point A to point B, but they are doing it in their own way. So this is really the way that we want to orient our minds to thinking about that framework and the curriculum that we then developed. So I think that it is an understatement to say this, but supporting desire paths can lead to these dynamic, adventurous, joyful learning adventures and learning journeys. So now let's get back to Fashion Forward. So that was really the primer for how we thought about this approach, and Jasenia and I worked very closely together in how we developed and led the curriculum where we wanted to teach students technologies, but we needed to do it a different way. We needed to do it through the student voice first. And so again, the goal, transform clothing, tell a story, enhance it with tech. We were very transparent and we're very authentic with our students in terms of how we open up our process. So this was a slide that they were very familiar with. We told them that we were gonna go through these different stages of iterating and developing ideas. Again, very familiar to those of you in the Fab community, discovering, defining, refining your idea, right? So iterating and ideating, developing the concept into something a bit more functional, getting a working prototype in order, and then delivering a product. So this was very much a blend between process orientation and product delivery. So we did think that that was very important with our students. There was a lot of agency that came when students were making something that mattered to them. So here's what it looked like, and I hope that this will help inform some of your approaches to different types of curriculum, fill in the blank, whether it's fashion or something else. For us, we started with that deep social emotional learning and self-identity work. So again, Jasenia came in and advised that we really needed to think about the student perspective first and get them moving. So we gave them a framework. We didn't give them a blank piece of paper because that would be a bit overwhelming too. But we had them start with a concept and start with a vision board. There were many modalities for students to opt in. So they could sketch, they could collage, they could create material samples, color palettes. And then they connected that to a theme. So the themes were around identity, futurism, sustainability, as well as issue awareness and social justice. And that's very important that we stitch those themes through all the work that we do and give students that opportunity to have their voice heard in those ways. So what this looked like was very frenetic energy. It was really exciting. I would say within the first 15 minutes of our camp, students were making. And that's really important. They were not sitting, they were not listening. I mean, we had told them where the restrooms were, but that was about it, right? So we got them making, doing, creating chaos, but it was in a very good and exciting way. And so that vision board was sort of that grounding tool that students returned to. So every day, that was their reflection point. And so you can start to see where students are very exploratory, the phase is very, very wide. They start to focus in on a few different things. And that was the first couple of days of our camp. After this, but only after this, we introduced the technologies. And I think that that order of operations is vital. Had we led with tech, I think we would have lost our audience. Students had skin in the game. They knew what they wanted to make. They cared about the creations that they were developing. And now we gave them this extra superpower, which was like, okay, now take a skill, take one of these technology areas and have it bring your story to life. How do you animate your creation? So we focused primarily on electronics, 3D printing, and laser cutting as our tech areas. And we introduced students to those themes. Again, they really had not had much exposure to this prior to this camp. So we did it through some interactives. We did interactive demonstrations. We had a tech petting zoo. We had a maker in resident who was working on a sensor board who introduced his work as well and got students really excited about what could be possible, because we needed to at least plant that seed. And then students selected what their technology would be. So it was very much based and oriented in their work. So that was the order of operations there. And then things got really fun. It was already pretty fun, but it got really fun next. The third phase was our shopping spree. So students were viewed as entrepreneurs and as their own bosses, and so we gave them budgets to work with. They had to strategize what they were looking for, and we took them to our local thrift store. So that was our shopping spree, which I think was really important, actually, not just because of sustainability considerations and local economy considerations, but also because it was a really clever format to get students to do creative brainstorming. At a thrift store, they're not gonna have exactly what you're looking for. And so we had this 45-minute power session where students just had to be agile and problem solve in that moment, but it was very, very fun. So it didn't have that heavy pressure of, trying to problem solve under an exam timeline. It was more like, you've got to find something that works for your idea, and let's figure this out together. So we were very, very creative with the students in that process, and worked with them to sort of see what could be possible with the materials that were available. And then we took these materials back to the Innovation Center, and we did what we called deconstruct to reconstruct. So taking apart clothing allowed us to understand how clothing was constructed. And I think that this was, again, a really great way to expedite the process of learning garment construction, because we could have very easily spent the entire summer learning how to piece garments together. But it was very clever to be able to rip something apart, and what student doesn't like to rip something apart, and then put it back together in a different way, in a new way, in a way that connects to your theme and your story. So that was really a discovery of transformation through material. At the end of every day, we allowed students the opportunity to revise what they were doing and inform their vision board accordingly. So again, if they found something totally different at the thrift store that took them in a completely different direction, we said yes. We said yes to that, and we allowed them to move forward and track their new ideas. So this was us taking the bus to the thrift store. Finally, one of the things that we really like to do in terms of our facilitation is reframe the role of the educator. So in this case, our educators were project managers, and we were there to consult with the students. And we were there to guide our students in their journey and help them with time management, with their own order of operations, because they might not have known the right tool for the job or the right place to start. And so we were there to guide them in that way, but it was always oriented with the student vision first. So anytime we worked on strategy with students, we would say, okay, show us your vision board, show us where you're going, show us what you want to do, and we can help get you to what's next. We also learned in the moment a lot of things. Jasenia and I laugh about this now because these were pretty crazy days. They were very long and very, very full. And we very quickly realized that we needed to offer more time to our students. So we adapted our program completely. We allowed our students to come back for 2 additional weeks, as well as a fashion week at the end that led up to our showcase event. And the students kept coming back. And that was something that, again, we were listening to our users. And I alluded to this just now, but this was maybe one of the most exciting portions of the workshop that I think really matters, especially when working with youth that are developing their sense of self and their sense of purpose in the world. Giving students an opportunity to showcase and to share out in a way that is meaningful. So we had a fashion show and a fashion expo at the end of this session. And it was a wild ride getting there. We really transformed our innovation center in order to create a runway as well as a stage, different areas. We had a catered event. We had transportation for families who may have had struggle getting to our facility. So these were things that mattered to us. And we allowed our students to tell their story and celebrated them. We had over 90 people attend the event. And at the end of that, something really exciting and unexpected also happened, which was that 4 of our students were invited to participate in the Cambridge Science Festival, which is in Boston, but it is something that is for the greater community. And so that was an event that thousands of people attended, and these students were able to then have their looks celebrated in front of an even larger audience. So very exciting to allow for that serendipitous moment. So this was our fashion showcase. So finding that sweet spot with technology, I think it involves a lot of these things that we developed over the summer, and that this is what can now be extracted into a larger opportunity for everyone. Balancing that user-centered experience with skill building, and again, allowing the skills to follow the user. Developing flexible frameworks, so being really agile, not just ourselves with the content that we were delivering, but being flexible to listening to our students when they told us they needed more time or that they wanted to do something differently. And I'll go into a couple case studies in a moment that exhibit that. We had 69% of our students from the first session re-enroll in subsequent sessions, and 92% of our students select more than one tech area to enhance their look with. This was not something that we were intending, but it was an outcome that we can celebrate. Our students also uploaded 150 different design files over the course of the summer, and again, thinking back, we only had 29 students. They were really getting at iterating, prototyping, developing their ideas, and refining. So I'll celebrate a few students because I think that this can show you the range that we were able to support. So Ozzy was really excited about fashion accessories. He really didn't care about garment work. And we said, okay, that's great, that there's not only nothing wrong with that, that's awesome. So he really focused on eyewear, and his theme was cyber and futurism. And so he really took to the laser cutter and Adobe Illustrator. He did over 32 design cycles himself, revising this design and doing material testing. He was very interested in the laser cutter and understanding some of those, the limits of things, I would say, was what Ozzy was particularly motivated by. So learning about kerf compensation, learning about flammability, learning about different materials that he could push to their logical conclusions. And his reflection was, I liked learning what materials burned and how to design things to make it better. Right? So he was reflecting on this one area that he went really, really deep, but we were able to support him in that. Whereas some students made whole looks with accessories and a whole lot more. But he really did one thing, but he did it so deeply that we were really excited to be able to celebrate him. He also made several of these acrylic glasses at the end of the session, and I think he sold all of them at our fashion expo. So he actually did quite well in understanding the market. In Damari's case, his concept was making interactive pants that responded to sound. His theme was playful fashion, which was really lovely that he identified playfulness himself, as well as self-expression, to be able to integrate those two things. That was something that emerged from him. That actually wasn't a theme area that we had particularly specified, but it was the one that he identified. And his technology areas were really focusing on the circuit boards and NeoPixels, and we used block coding in order to make that possible. He also learned how to sew and use the direct-to-garment printer. And his reflection was, the people here see what you want to do and help you get there. So I think that really resonates with that desire path mentality. The final case study, just to kind of celebrate some of the students, is Esperanza. Her concept was light up evening gown that matched your mood. And so she really focused on this gorgeous, elegant gown that she transformed and completely deconstructed from what she found at the thrift store. I don't think I have a before picture, but it was a true transformation. Her technology areas were the circuit board and NeoPixels, and again, the block coding. Additional skills were sewing and a lot of handwork. I think this might be the student that came in the most to continue her work in outside after hours. And her reflection was, I wanted to show that technology can be elegant. And I think that's really powerful. So here are just a few of the looks to see, just to show you what what came of this? And this is about 20 hours up to 40 hours for our students, depending on how much they came back. So the takeaways here were diversifying STEAM fields takes a lot of intentionality. It is an orientation that you must take on before you even start what you're doing. And it really does require an agile and creative approach with a flexible framework. So being able to adapt to our users, our students, and hear where they wanted to go and be able to forward them accordingly. We were constantly asking, what story do you want to tell? Let the tech follow. That should not be the focal point if we're trying to bring students in that are not already gravitating towards these fields. We have to listen to them first. And keep it fun and keep a share out as part of this. Have celebration, have some kind of a showcase that allows students to really be lifted in an authentic way and tell their story to a larger audience. I think it's really important to recognize the importance of curiosity and passion as drivers for seeing oneself in STEAM fields, especially if that's not already your predisposition. And support desire paths in everything that we do. I think we are all teachers in some capacity. And so thinking about who our programs are for, who they are not for, how we orient ourselves to the user is vital before we even open our doors. So that is the case study that I wanted to share from our learnings this summer. And I'm happy to take questions. Jasenia is here as well for any feedback that you have and areas for us to grow or learn from too.
Okay, is Sonia here? Sonia, and you have your own laptop. Okay. Yay! Sonia's going to talk to us today about university. You're from the University Fab Lab, or Fab Labs in universities? Is that what you're going to talk about? No? Okay, well. Okay. If Alessandra is here, if you could bring your presentation up, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, guys, sorry for the delay. I'm Sonia. I'm from FabLab Brno, and I would like to present you FabLab University, which is educational platform for students and teachers. To give you some context, FabLab University originated in FabLab Brno. This is our core team. 8 people, gender equality, not planned, even better, right? I'm probably, or hands down, the least technical person in the team. I consider myself maker in making, but my job title says something like marketing, communication, UX, which stands for user experience. But I'm mostly focused on the community of maker around FabLab Brno. So FabLab Brno started at 2017, and since then we have been growing. With almost every new project, we hire a new team member. But the biggest change for us came a month ago. FabLab Brno originated as a project of South Moravian Innovation Center, which is an association that connects companies with research institutions and universities. It's basically like an incubator for innovative startups and entrepreneurs. And only a month ago, we gained more freedom and more responsibilities as we become a daughter company of South Moravian Innovation Center. With that, we needed to create a new team structure. We needed to build a new pillars of company structure. We needed to welcome new team members, and we decided to focus more of education. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here today presenting FabLab University. Currently, we are building a second makerspace, which is situated in the historical center of Brno, which is the second largest city in Czech Republic. And yeah, it's a bit smaller than the original makerspace, but it's in the center of the city and in the building that is a home and also center of creative industries. So there are fashion designers in the Kunst building, yeah. It's called Kunst, this hub for creative people. There are fashion designers, designers of video games, there is a podcast studio, and there is also a guy who specialized in calligraphy. So we are very excited to work with the new target group of creatives and artists, since now we are more focused on makers with technical background. Yeah, this is a bit of a sneak peek of how the makerspace will look like, and it's custom designed by one of our core team members, Adela. She studied architecture, but now she is a full-time maker, but she still has it in her, right? Okay, so let's see our original Fab Lab. It's 180 square meters focusing on creating and testing. We have more than 25 machines, including equipment for IoT and also virtual reality. And we offer 24/7 access to our makerspace. We are considering ourselves the leader of Czech Fab Labs. The proof of that is that almost every week we are contacted by someone who want to do their own makerspace and they want advice and know-how, tips and tricks how to do it. And we are really happy to consult their projects and to share what we learned over the years. So yeah, this is our mission. Everyone in the South Moravian region has an opportunity to meet and master digital craftsmanship. South Moravian region is more than 7,000 square kilometers big, which is 2,700 square miles. So it's pretty big, and it's pretty hard to serve people located in more remote part of the region, like small cities, villages even. And we stress in the vision, we stress the word everyone. We try to be very inclusive. So we needed to find a way how to bring maker spaces to the people located in more remote part of the region. So we started to work on this project in 2018. And it took us over a year, but in 2019 we created FabLab Experience, which is now called FabLab University Truck. And this is it. Full-size trailer, probably still the world's largest mobile Fab Lab. It's a full-size trailer with a foldable size. When parked, it becomes a makerspace/classroom. And its uniqueness really lies in combination of digital craftsmanship and educational purposes. We are all year in a row visiting elementary school and high school across South Moravian region, but it can also be used like for company events, festival, fairs, and various types of public events. The track with the trailer is around 44 square meters big, and it provides facility for 2 lecturers. There are like 2 small beds, tiny little fridge, a bit of storage spaces, but there are also more than 10 technologies, including laser cutter, 3D printer, 3D scanner, robotic arm, CNC cutting machine, cutting plotter, electron microscope, virtual reality, and all of this costs around 400,000 euros, and this is a number from 2019. So the money came mostly from our founders, which are local governments, South Moravian region and also city of Brno, also from universities and our commercial partners. Okay, so we have a track. What do we do with it? You can bring technology to people. But as you all may know, digital craftsmanship is so much more than just technologies and machines. You need ideas, you need creativity, you need determination to learn new skills. And without all of that, this truck is really just a very expensive vehicle. So we come up with these goals. And we also decided that we want to target the one place dedicated to learning, which are the schools. It helped that our local government also supported very much the STEM education, the promoting of STEM education, so we aligned with this strategy very well. And we believe that students are more familiar with technologies, they know how to work with it, they're open to learning new skills, they're open to technology as well, so yeah, we targeted them. I would like to present a case study on this project, tell you what worked and what didn't, but first, let's take a look on how we operate. We have a few programs that we offer. But this is the most popular one, 90 minutes workshop for maximum 15 students. We can provide this workshop on a few different technologies, 3D printer, laser cutter, cutting plotter, and for more older students, we have also CNC cutter. And the choice on the technology is made by teachers in advance or by students themselves at the beginning of the workshop. So we start with 10 minutes of theory. We told them who are makers, what are Fab Labs, and then we told them that we are makers, we are not teachers. We told them that they can talk to us informally, they can ask whatever, whenever they want, and after that, they choose the project they wanted to work on. It's usually something small like keyring or coaster or a brooch, and they sit down to their computers and they start working on their design using Inkscape software. There are 2 lecturers on each workshop. One is working on his or her computer, sharing the screen through a big TV so students can follow. And the second one is helping the students individually. If they have some problems with anything, or if they want to change their design, make it more their own, we strongly encourage them to do that, and the lecturer is there to help them. After that, when they're done preparing their data, it usually took them around 45 minutes. They go to machine and they learn how to operate with it. We also talk to them about materials, how to use the right one for their project, which aspect they have to consider. And then they start the machine, install the material, and make their project. The older students do this on their own, only with supervision. The younger ones get help and assistance from the lecturer. And as mentioned, the jobs on the machines are done in a smaller group. So the students that aren't working or are done working with the machine, they have some spare time. And in that spare time, we talk to them about about other technologies that we have in the truck, and we show them some example products, and we brainstorm together about their next potential makers project. Yeah, and after first year on the road, we decided to make the workshops longer. Now they have 90 minutes, and also focus more on working in smaller groups and on individual projects. It helps children to like get more creative, open a bit more. We are now testing a team challenges, 2 days, 2 technologies, 1 challenge. It can be something like make the highest tower using 3D printer and laser cutter. They work in a teams of 3 or 4, and first day we train them on technologies, and the second day they're working on a project, and we were pleasantly surprised how quickly they can adopt new skills and use them to create something on their own. And then there is the change of environment, yes, students not being at school. It is very helpful in attempt to motivate students and create informal, relaxed atmosphere. And they really behave differently when not being in a classroom. So it turned out to be very, very good. And our lecturers are, in most cases, only a few years older than their students. So they are really not the teachers. They are more like friends, creating chill vibes and open atmosphere. So this is very helpful. And also we are big and red, and you can't really miss us if we arrive to your city or town. And as a marketer myself, we have like a 50 meters long billboard, which is constantly moving across our region, so can't really complain about it. Yeah, there is a photo. Yeah, this demonstrates that we are very bright and bold, and the truck really is a statement piece. Okay, let's take a look on what didn't really work. Continuity. You can spark a joy or interest in 90 minutes, but you cannot teach somebody to become a maker in one workshop. So the truck leaves the next day, and the children, in most cases, don't have a place to come to learn more. To give you some context, there is 10 million people living in Czech Republic, and we have only 3 Fab Labs and a few smaller maker spaces, which are not in all cases open for the public. So this is a funny thing. We created this track as a Fab Lab experience because we wanted people to experience the maker spirit, to experience the feel of freedom when you do something and you make something on your own. We managed to do that, and with that we created the demand, which is a good thing if you have something more to offer, but we didn't at that time. And one of our original goals was to inspire teachers to pick up digital craftsmanship and to become like an ambassadors of maker movement. We thought that we visit them with our fabulous truck, and after we leave, they buy 3D printers and they happily work after hours to learn how to like create some teaching materials for their students and pass the knowledge to them. Yeah, it doesn't really work that way. I get to the challenges we face with teachers in a bit. But yeah, these were the 2 topics we wanted to focus on. And then the COVID pandemic hit. And it actually gave us time to do it. We created Fab Lab University, educational platform for not only students and teachers who came across, or more like through, our track. We come up with a program for teachers. This is it. We had courses and prepared lectures. For teachers, there are online webinars and also offline courses on mostly 3D printing technology and software. one-day online webinar of Tinkercad, a one-day offline course of 3D printing basics, and also a 3 months more like comprehensive course. And we set the prices from 600 Czech crowns, which is like a 24 euros for the webinar, to 6,000 Czech crowns. It's around 250 euros for the 3 months course. This is not cheap, but we made sure that all of our courses get the accreditation of our Ministry of Education, which allows schools to pay for those courses from their employee training budgets. And secondly, the lectors of FabLab Track prepared ready-to-use lessons for the teachers. These are basically like DIY projects using mostly 3D printing technology tailored to school curriculums. For example, there is 3D printed molecules, so students can like prepare their own educational material, but using 3D printers and learn biology. So this is pretty cool. Okay, but with students, let's take a look on our second target group of students. We bet everything on one card, which was the video. Video tutorials on 3D modeling software, slicers, IoT basics, Arduino, and even more fun stuff like how the 3D technology is portrayed in famous films and series. And it is really paying off. There are currently 38 videos till this day, and there will be more since our online video content team is getting bigger. And since the launch of the channel, there has been a continuous growth. We reached the 3,000 subscribers milestone only in 17 months. Last month, we had plus 257 new subscribers to this channel. Total number of views is a little below 180,000. And we have 13,000 hours watch time in total. And my favorite number is that average watch time nowadays is about 1,000 hours a month. And there is only 8 million people in the Czech YouTube scene. So let's see what worked with students. It's definitely the choice of a platform. YouTube is the biggest online social network in the world. And the most important thing for us was that our target group is already there. There and on TikTok, but I'm not sure how we would teach digital craftsmanship of TikTok, right? The fact is that 89% of Czechs older than 15 years old is active on YouTube, so there is a huge potential. And there's also a huge content competition. There are literally everything you can think of on YouTube, including similar content that we wanted to post. It's like tutorials on technologies and studies material on digital craftsmanship. But most of them are in English. So we tried to post them in Czech. And even though young Czech people can speak English pretty well, it turned out that they prefer to consume this kind of content in their native language, in Czech. COVID. The rise of numbers of people consuming online content during the COVID was rising. So we benefited from that trend, definitely. But also, I believe that if you want to attract a young audience, you need to use their language and you need to show them guy or girl who are relatable to them. Because if they are, your audience become more willing to interact with you, to discuss behind the video, to like interact in online discussions. So yeah, I think this is a very important aspect too. Let's see what doesn't work. I think we know how to work with students, but we are failing to attract teachers. And this may be some of the reasons. This is a hard time for teachers. First COVID, they had to switch to online lessons, and then war in Ukraine. For your information, 60,000 Ukrainian children came into Czech schools. They didn't know the language, but they had to attend our schools. It was government orders. And it was up to teachers to include them into their lessons. So the room for their self-development and for experimenting with something new like technology during their lesson, yeah, it was pretty small. While talking to teacher, the main concern they have in order to pick up digital craftsmanship is their fear of technology, this fixed idea that they have to be the smartest in the room, that they cannot fail in front of their students. But it is a fact that with technology, there is always room for error. You just cannot prevent it from happening. But for a lot of teachers, this creates a barrier that they're not willing to overcome. They just don't want to look stupid in front of their students. And in Czech Republic, there is a fight for teachers' attention. A lot of subjects, commercial, non-commercial, doesn't really matter, want to sell them their educational courses. But not all of them are high in quality. So it's very difficult for us to promote to them our educational courses because teachers in Czech Republic don't trust anything based on flyers and online ads and newsletters, things like that. They usually trust only the recommendation, personal recommendation from their colleagues. And they're talking to each other in a closed teacher's room or in a closed Facebook communities, Facebook groups. So yeah, it's pretty hard to reach them, and we didn't yet find a way how to attract them and how to create engaged community of teachers. Maybe the way is by ambassadors or influencer, we don't really know. But if you do, and you are willing to share your best practice, we would appreciate it very much. So yeah, to sum it up, I think we know how to work with students. FabLab University knows how to attract and engage students. So we are happy to share our best practice, but we are also happy to learn from you if you are willing to share your approach, how to work with teachers, because we are still kind of figuring out. There should be emojis, like first heart emojis, happy one, and there's like a cringe one, but yeah. Okay, so thank you for your attention. If you want to stay in touch, just scan this QR code and you will find all of the information about me, about project, and also you can put me directly into your contact list. So thank you for your time. Sorry for the technical difficulties and for the delay, and see you in Czech Republic for FAB 2025 CZ. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Have a good
Sonia.
one.
Thank you, Sonia. Yes, we will be in the Czech Republic in 2025 for this meeting. So put that on your calendar now. Save the time. Next, we're doing a little computer switching. And next we have Alessandra Schmidt to talk about food, right? Food and citizens. Stand by. Oh, one thing. Sorry, one little technical thing. Please do not plug into anything out here until we get the clearance, because it might blow everything. All right, including your computer, or your phone. So please, we appreciate you not plugging in right now. Thanks.
Thank you for the useful information, Sherry. That's very important. Good morning, everyone. I'm Alessandra from FabLab Barcelona, and I'm here talking on behalf of the Food Tech 3.0 team. We have been working on a European project called Food Shift. This is a project that has been running for 2.5 years now. It's a 4 years long project happening in 9 different regions in Europe. And here we will showcase in a brief presentation how we developed the work in Barcelona as a pilot. The idea is that we will share a bit of our methodology and the work done there. The focus we chose was in food tech because of the nature of our work as a Fab Lab, but the project is actually based in different types of organizations. So the main focus of the project is to change the food system in general, having citizens at the center of this transformation. And this is very important because it connects with the concept of food citizenship. So us getting closer to the production side, the distribution side, and all that entails putting food on our plates. So while we get oh, we have it? Yeah? Yes. So Food Shift 2030 is aiming to empower citizens to shift food system to have lower carbon emission in the production of food, more circular and more plant-based. And there are different strategies to get there. Of course, it is a complex issue, and it will come with some sort of collective action around it. So what you see here is the strategy we use in Barcelona. So since there will be 9 locations developing the program, each location had a challenge of creating an acceleration program to boost initiatives around the topic that they will choose, and select 10 innovators to participate in this program. So we had a process going. We used the facilities of the Fab Lab, but actually it started during COVID, so we had to adapt the methodology to do it in hybrid education. And we delivered 10 innovations that were accelerated during this months of acceleration. The key principles that we used when we were conceiving the process is work that has come from the bottom up with the community, open knowledge. So all the work that was developed is going to be available open source in a Git book. Considering the notion of the global and local collaboration, putting the focus on the local knowledge, learning ecology, digital social innovation, and trying to be as inclusive as possible. We had, for instance, more than 50% of the innovations having at least one woman as the founder of the initiative. So that was pretty nice as well. So, well, potatoes, batatas, let's talk about this. This is our methodology. And it was co-created internally with our team using the Future Learning Unit work. So you might have heard about the work that has been done in STEAM, but it was never been done with focus on food. So it was very nice for us to bring food as central to our strategy in our Fab Lab, into our vision as a Fab City Barcelona as well. So what we did is to develop the pillars, and we had 4 pillars. TRL as being the technological readiness level, the technical part, business models and funding, and also the community access. So this was the tracks that the innovators went through the acceleration program. And since we are aiming at having more citizens engaged in the knowledge of food tech, we were always focusing on how we can improve the technology, but also not only the TRL, but also the SRL, which is the society readiness level. So that's why we balance the community aspect with the technological one. And the ultimate goal of this project is to come up with this concept of food citizenship. What does that mean? It means that we will not be simply consumers of what we eat, but we will be participating on the food chain of this consumption. And we will get closer to the idea of prosumers, we will get closer to the idea of more kilometer zero, more seasonal food. That were all the topics that we were approaching there. So cities being at the center of the food systems. And what does that mean? So it means that we actively participate in the food system. We are engaged, we feel empowered in making this transition, feeling that we can participate of that. We help to produce our food. We help to organize logistics and distributions, and also to create an environment that we would like to live in. That especially considering, in our case, Barcelona urban area with the urban gardens, but also the peri-urban area. You will see a bit more about that in a moment. In 2021, talking about the context a little bit, was an important moment for us in Barcelona because the city became the capital, international capital for sustainable food. So all over the city was happening more than 80 events around this topic. And what we made as a first step is to understand not only the communities that were already working with the topic of food, but also what the city agenda was. And we embraced this niche of food tech that was already like in the agenda, but as a minor actor. It created a momentum for us to bring awareness about this topic. It also facilitated that the agenda that we were proposing was being well accepted while we were advancing the work. So here you have a picture of the kickoff of the first time that we were able to meet in our Fab Lab after the pandemic. And to talk about the territory, what we were focusing on, of course, the Barcelona area, but also the peri-urban area, and understanding that the innovations that were selected for the innovation program were going to have a major impact in this territory. Okay, let me exercise a little bit and come this way. And just to show a bit more about what do we mean when we talk about engaging with the city, actually we mean about engaging with the urban gardens that already exist. It means engaging with the rooftop. So if you've been in Barcelona, perhaps you have had the opportunity to see that there is a lot of rooftops, there's empty spaces. So how we can make these sort of spaces more productive using innovations that come from a Fab Lab. And here are some pictures in which you can see that. More specifically, how did we aim to do that? How did we do this process? So actually we went to the urban gardens and we started to open the discussion in these spaces, raising awareness about this discussion in these spaces, which is pretty simple. So the challenge also is like how we get out sometimes of the indoors. So go outside and talk to the citizens, talk to people in the community to co-create this bottom-up strategy. So since the very beginning of the acceleration program, we received the inputs of the local communities. The first thing to do, and I think we have been talking about this already during the previous days, is a mapping exercise to identify who is already doing work on this regard and getting the input. So we formed a steering committee, and that steering committee helped to input the information for us to define the base of our work, and then we start the co-creation process. So all of this process, it goes towards the notion of empowering local communities. And then we go to the daily basis of a Fab Lab, which is start the work related to prototyping, iterative, and repeating again and again. To showcase what we have been done, perhaps there is some typo in the presentation in Fab Lab Barcelona. Apart from showing that we can also work potatoes to be 3D printed. So here you can see Santi and Eduardo from the Fab Academy team. They are 3D printing from potatoes. And this is part of a Remix El Barrio project, Remix the School, which is bringing this type of discussion also to the schools. So we use these sort of inspirations of projects that we have inside the lab to present to the local communities. And I will present other two projects that we have that are related to the topic of food. The first one is Romy. So Romy was a project that we were connecting robotics with microfarms. And we tested throughout 8 seasons in the Val d'Ara area, which is in the peri-urban area of Barcelona. This was a project that was already done by the Fab Lab before the Food Shift project started. But what we did was to take the inputs and the knowledge from this sort of projects to share with the wider community. So how this open tools for farming can help the communities to increase their production and improve the working conditions with open tools. So this is a type and an example of a prototype, something tangible that can be used, for instance, in a garden or in a small area production around the city to map that were created for different tools and machines. Here you can see the Romy robot, which helps to scan the soil, like the way the crops are growing, and also to collect this data. And there's also other functions for helping with the labor force for lettuce and carrots specifically. So this is one of example of technology. The second project, just to showcase what we have been doing in the lab as well, is the Grow Observatory. That was a project focused on measuring the soil moisture, so the humidity of the soil, and also bringing communities to understand how to make this. And we use the technology from the Smart Citizen Kit. Perhaps you have heard about that already, which is this smart sensors that help citizens to collect their own data. But this one was adapted to soil measurement. And here we have some numbers on the impact achieved by this project. So examples of previous work that help us to shape and to bring to the communities our contribution to the table and to co-create with them. And to conclude, that's my last slide. The acceleration process have finished its first phase. We still have more 2 years to go. But what we are working on right now is to set up the Git book. These are the images from the 10 innovators that we have accelerated. So we have people working with Tempeh. They have presented Modern Antoine yesterday, the Domingo Club. We have Setchil working with 3D printers, recycling, making food from would-to-be food waste, but 3D printing cookies. Here we have NewMid, which has electronics combined to detect some indicators from growing. Here is Gaia Spirulina. So they created these tanks for spirulina, for growing spirulina. This is in his own place around Madrid. This is a local farm. So Villa Greens is working with microgreens. Kloska, they are working, actually Diwe also presented yesterday, the work connecting, they specifically work with bio-waste and how bio-waste can be used for new materials. That we have Ma Condiments. She's working with fermentation with low tech. Actually, fermentation by itself, it's a type of technology as well, if we consider that from an inclusive angle. And for instance, Power created this box to project the temperature of the future. We know that the temperature is heating. So what will happen with the plants in 30, 50 years time in case we don't change the issue with the environment? Well, these are just some examples, and these are the examples that will going to be available in the Git book, so everything that is behind these ideas, and also the contact for the creations. So that's it.
Thank you, Alessandra. Is that how we can get the book, the Git book?
Yeah, here it goes to the web page, and then from there you can find the access. And if you need any, and if you're interested in the project, you can contact Gabriela.
You all, so please help yourself. Come back in 10 minutes. Anybody who has a presentation in this next, what we're going to do is we'll have a few announcements. We will have a few more talks, and then the education panel will be just before lunch. So that'll be the hour just before lunch. So anybody with a presentation this morning or this afternoon, could you please bring it up? Okay, thank you. Great. All right, we're back from break. We have another series of talks, and then we're going to have our lovely education panel, which I'm very excited about. Just a reminder, here's your schedule. This is where you can find it. It's constantly changing, so please check. Please check before you show up anywhere. And this is today. We're up here this morning. We'll have like five or six talks. Then the panel will break for lunch, and then we break out into hands-on workshops and more talks. Right now, just so you know, we had one group cancel our talk this afternoon, so we're going to try and move this up and start our party early. So keep that in mind. And but with that being said, I wanted to remind you that we have the Community Sustainability Challenge today. This is the workshop in which we're going to redesign or think about how we redesign Fab Labs IO to be even more relevant and useful. And so this is the URL to find out more information. But we will be meeting in WG1, which is the room that's underneath the reception area, okay? It doesn't look like it kind of looks like you're going into a dark hall, but no, it's a great, beautiful space. And it's from 2 to 6 today. And what we're trying to do is brainstorm your best ideas, and we want to select, I think we're going to select like 9 winners for a total of about $6,000, and we'll announce those on Friday. So please come to that workshop. A reminder, safety. If you're going to go across the street to a workshop, please look both ways. We do have a medical staff on the campus as well. If something happens, like you burn yourself or you cut yourself, or if somebody passes out because they're just too hot. And it doesn't look like many of us are doing it, but when you do get into a really crowded space, especially indoors, please wear a mask so that you can protect yourself and others from COVID, okay? This is just a reminder map of where we are. I think you probably know that by now, but and these are our wonderful, we just have to thank our wonderful hosts and our wonderful sponsors and hosts for making this possible. It's just been amazing. Yesterday was crazy. It was just beautiful, that ceremony in the morning. Anyway, our first talk now is Frosty and his team are going to talk about the future of the Fab Lab network collaboration and sharing the ultimate secret of success. Frosty.
Thank you. I noticed that you did not applaud. Is there any reason for that? Can I get some more applause for this amazing team of people that we have here? Thank you very much. So, my name is Frosty. I'm from Iceland. And we have been talking about this, like Fab Lab network, for a long time. And what is it all about? And I gathered this amazing team of people here. The amazing experts that are, like, we are going to have like this short panel and like discuss about our thoughts. And we will present ourselves when we start talking, and I will get your like reflection on the topics about this, what we are all thinking about. Thomas, you're in your phone now. I'm trying to have a talk here.
I'm managing all the stuff going.
So the future of Fab Lab don't matter to you, or?
This event is about the future of Fab Lab. This event needs to be a success for the future of Fab Lab, so I'm working on the event success.
It's a huge success. Give him a big applause. Thomas Diaz, everybody. Okay. So in order to be able to express myself, I will talk in my language. Sérst að þegar maður er að tala sérst framtíð fablasmiða þá skiptir miklu máli hvernig við ætlum að vinna saman. Og þá finnst mér skipta máli hvaðan við komum, hvert við erum að fara og við erum að ákveða hvernig
אני
við
רוצה
ætlum...
רגע להפריע לך, אבל לדעתי הדבר הכי חשוב בפאבלאבים זה איך כולם פה יושבים ואיך כולם פה מסתכלים אחד על השני, נכון?
Ja, men sen gäller det också att ha roligt. Det är viktigt liksom att kunna ha lite skoj ibland också. Annars så går det ju inte liksom.
Bueno, sí, increíble que hoy en día todos nos entendamos en nuestro idioma original. Así que vamos por más Fab Lab inclusivo en el futuro.
We dachten dit jaren net alleenig. Het is een meanskip en we zijn mijn nine.
Og þetta, mér finnst þetta bara skipta miklu máli af því að þegar maður er að spá í alla þessar hluti að þá þarf maður að spá í þetta. Hvað segir þú, Angela?
Eu penso que o futuro dos Fab Labs é justamente poder entender cada um na sua língua e como a Torre de Babel, todo mundo saber tudo que cada um está falando aqui maravilhosamente, compreendo tudo.
Tôi đến từ Việt Nam, tôi rất yêu các bạn. Tôi rất vui khi được đến đây. Chúc các bạn có một buổi sáng thật vui vẻ. Tôi đến từ Việt Nam. Cảm ơn các bạn.
Ja, ich glaube, so wie jeder einzelne von uns hier jetzt gerade sitzt, können wir jeder allein für uns etwas tun, aber viel, viel mehr können wir tun, indem wir es alle gemeinsam tun und indem wir uns gegenseitig unterstützen und indem wir gegenseitig und zusammen in eine Zukunft schauen, die besser ist als das, was wir jetzt hier haben.
Silloin kun suomalainen lähtee pitämään hauskaa, niin se on raaka homma. Se on revippuren raasta. Sä pidät loppuun asti hauskaa vaikka hampaat tervessä.
En ég held að þegar við tökum þetta allt saman, það sem við erum búin að vera að segja, þá snýst þetta bara þetta, við ætlum bara að hafa gaman og þannig að til þess að hafa gaman þá þurfum við að vinna saman og það skiptir ekki öllum máli hvað við vitum heldur hvað við gerum. Ef við erum sammála því, eða ekki? Er ekki allir sammála? Ég heyri ekki í ykkur! Ég heyri ekki í ykkur! Hver byrja í djúpinu í ananas? Svampur Svensson!
Konda leika, kom í fyrsta leikin nú. Konda hoppa, konda seta, kom í parið svo snú.
Létti snúin sittu bandin, síðan hoppum ég og þú. Þetta sko engin vandi, öllu saman syngjum nú.
Hilari, lari, lari, hey. Hilari, lari, hey. Hilari, lari, lari, hey. Fram og aftur upp og niður, aldrei báum uppi nú. Allir krakkar að leika, ofsanlega gaman nú. Allir klappa, allir stappa, og svo hoppum ég og þú.
Áfram allur krakka dansinn, eftir samt að gæta. Allir dansa sama dansinn, dans og syngja þetta lag.
Hilari, lari, lari, hey. Hilari, lari, lari, hey. Hilari, lari, lari, hey. Fram og aftur upp og niður, aldrei báum uppi nú. Hilari, lari, lari, hey.
Oh my. Frosty, thank you so much. Frosty, just for all of you to know, he was the very first Fabersize, so it's wonderful to have you back. Okay, well, now, if you can catch your breath, that's a hard act to follow, Andrew, wherever you are. There you are. Andrew Lamb and a team are going to come up here and talk about all sorts of great things, right?
Good morning. Thank you very much. We're going to talk very quickly, 5 minutes, about an amazing project which is just getting started. My name's Andrew, and I'm the chair of the Internet of Production Alliance, which is part of the project that we're just about to present. And it's a project that brings together makerspaces and fab labs in Europe and Africa. So we're trying to bring 2 continents together to really grow the Fab Lab and Maker movement. So we have 2 people from Africa and 2 people from Europe to talk about the project. And it's really going to be all about trying to find new ways to grow, sustain, and to connect hardware digital innovation hubs. It's a European government term, so bear with me. But digital innovation hubs are all about, trying to support the digital economy in Europe and Africa, trying to build links between the continents. And what we're doing is we're working on this project, focusing on hardware innovation hubs, i.e. makerspaces, and we're bringing together some of what you guys are doing, particularly, you've heard lots of stuff around the Fab City OS, you've heard lots of stuff around capacity building or income generation. The Internet of Production Alliance is doing things around data standards and then data systems for mapping machines, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. You won't be surprised to hear a maker passport to keep track of skills of different makers in different places, and also a contracting system so that if someone places an order for something, it can be distributed across makerspaces across the continents, and the items can be made locally rather than shipping them around the world. So that's my part in the project. Anna, do you want to say what you're up to?
Thank you very much, Andrew. So I'm Anna Lowe. And my part in this project is really to focus on the business models, both for hub sustainability and also for small scale manufacturing. So I'm going to be producing an open catalogue of business models, which can be used by Fab Labs, makerspaces, and by some of the businesses that grow out of them. So I'm really interested to talk to people who are running hubs, who've got interesting stories to tell about the business models that they've found. Or about people who've done any work in this area, any research in the past, or anything like that. I'm gathering information at the moment and hoping to publish the catalogue openly in the first half of next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. My name is Frank. I'm the executive manager for Africa Open Science Hardware, Africa OSH. So our part in the project is we'll be supporting the setup of an online platform where new like a MOOC, like Andrew said, just we focus on both soft and technical skills also, and we'll also be supporting Andrew in mapping geographical locations of machines in makerspaces and digital innovation hubs also, and we'll also be organizing training and skill building programs for SMEs, for makers, for makerspace leads to enable sustainable capacity development, and also forming community of practices for stakeholders, SMEs and makers and makerspaces also.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten. I'm representing the Global Innovation Gathering, as well as just to say a shout out to all the Fab Lab networks coming from Fab Lab Namibia. So I think that's also really great to see everybody here. Global Innovation Gathering for us is about societal change, and it's a group of amazing makers, hackers, hackerspaces, working together to solve grassroots innovation, societal problems on every level, and Make is just one of those here represented Global Innovation Gathering members here. And as part of the project, we're looking at community engagement, outreach, and how to really connect the communities in the Global South and in Europe and the Global North as well. So that's our structure, preparing co-creation processes, documentation, and looking at community engagement and outreach. Thanks.
Thank you. So if you have content, training content that could be shared, particularly if it's in European languages or African languages. Please let us know if you have ideas for innovative business models for makerspaces, or even just successful or failed business models for makerspaces. Let Anna know. If you're interested in joining the Global Innovation Gathering and learning more about this project, the gig, and Kirsten, you're managing the thing, so Kirsten's definitely a person to talk to. And we have a panel discussion.
This afternoon, we'll have a panel discussion. Anna, Frank, myself, Andrew, depending on the schedule shift and changes, and Kuldeep as well from Bangladesh, from BRUC. That is at 5 o'clock here. So if you want to find out more about the future of decentralized manufacturing and looking at the challenges and solutions and working together to co-create the process of improving and providing resources and solving some of the challenges like logistics and supply chains, employment creation, join us at 5 here.
Thank you very much. This one works. Hello. The technology always goes wrong at technology events. One of the things we mentioned we're doing in the Make project is that we're mapping machines. And it's part of something and a group of organizations that's called the Internet of Production Alliance, which I'm fortunate enough to be able to chair. And we invite you all to become members of this alliance. It would be wonderful for you to be part of it. Individual makerspaces, networks, organizations, businesses, anyone who is interested in decentralizing and distributing production and being part of that conversation. What we're trying to do is something very familiar to this audience. We're trying to move from the idea of moving goods around the planet to making manufacturing locally, shifting bits, not atoms. And really, we're trying to decentralize production. The paradigm of production we've ever had since the Industrial Revolution has to change. If we reinvented manufacturing with the technology we have available now, it would not look like these enormous supply chains coming from China, coming to every continent. And potentially in some places, certainly in my area of work, you're seeing that, cheap imports, putting local business, cheap imports with expensive supply chains really negatively affecting local businesses. I think the future of makerspaces and fab labs will be about quality control facilities to help distributed production. I think they'll be about membership systems, accreditation systems for people with skills to be able to manufacture. There'll be places, there'll be hubs for winning work and for learning new skills. And they will also become very embedded in communities. So you can imagine a future where you don't have really shops anymore, but you have makerspaces on every street corner where things are produced on demand. And it's people like you who are going to make that future a reality. So in order to create distributed production, you need to know, first of all, you need to know what you're going to make. So there's a lot of work taking place around a standard called Open Know-how and documentation that trying to create. We're just about to launch a search engine for finding hardware designs online, decent hardware designs online. That's called Open Know-how. We have a data standard around electronic components, developing. Some of you will have been interviewed for that. But what I'm talking about today is something that's been nicknamed Open Nowhere. It's an open standard so you can know where to make things. Yes, why another standard? So one of the things we've been doing over the years, when I've been working in the maker movement for an international organization, I consult a whole range of platforms to figure out where the maker spaces are. to figure out where the injection molding factories are, to figure out where vocational training centers are. So I have used all of these sites to try and keep track of where you can make things. And we've created now a data standard. Communities come together where you can actually have a look at the detail of particular facilities. We really want to integrate this with tools like fablabs.io. So if you have a Fab Lab, please can you keep your list of machines up to date on the fablabs.io platform. And as we integrate this data standard into fablabs.io, then your machines will appear on this map if you so wish. We've mapped around 35,000 machines, but particularly in 6 countries where we've had some project funding. So in Bangladesh, Iraq, in Kenya, in Uganda, in Somalia. We've made a connection using the fablabs.io API, but literally you can go on to a map of Uganda and figure out where the nearest 3D printer to you is. And using the other data standards, you can figure out what can be made where. And then soon, with the Make project, you'll be able to figure out who's going to make it and how much it's going to cost you. That's the idea. So please update your details on fablabs.io. If you have a data set, you can explore the map. It's an SQL database, so you have to click a few buttons. It's pretty raw data, so you can go and have a look at map.internetproduction.org. Find out more about what we're doing. But if you have a data set that you want to try and convert, we have money for you. We have awards you can apply for, probably around $5,000. Small amounts of money for you to adapt existing data sets, because we recognize there will be a cost to do this, so that you can integrate your data with this data standard, and we begin to create a decentralized map of all of the world's machines. Thank you very much.
So up next is, a new laptop. So we have Gadin next. Is that right? Yes. And he's going to talk about the Fab Lab project implementation of a water treatment plant, which will be pretty relevant to what we're all interested in today. So. Please, if you do have presentations today, bring them up so that we don't have to switch laptops, etc. That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, this is for the next.
Yeah.
Which one? Next and back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Check.
Check. Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Gading Reno. I'm from FabLab Jababeka. It's an honor for me to present our caravan project. It's called Water Treatment Plan 4.0. Before I start to break down our projects, let me introduce what is Jababeka, which is our home base. So Jababeka is industrial estate. It's the largest industrial estate in Southeast Asia. It's located in Cikarang. It's around 1.5 hours from Jakarta, the capital city of Indonesia. It has 5,600 hectares area, which it become home of 2,000 industry. It's so many multinational company like Mattel, L'Oreal, Unilever, and so many more from more than 30 countries. So Jababeka itself provide for every tenant needs. So they have a subsidiary. It's called Jababeka Infrastructure. They have 2 water treatment plant by the capacity of the one is 400 liter per second, and the other one is 200 liter per second. And also, Jababeka Infrastructure has the wastewater treatment plant, 2 wastewater treatment plant by the capacity for 125 liter per second, and the other one is 208 liter per second. To provide tenants for the telecommunication, they also have a telecommunication for fiber optic. It's called ICTEL, and for distribute the electricity, they also have own the power plant. It can produce 130 megawatt and so many more. Okay, and here we are as a FabLab Jababeka. Jababeka have a program together with President University, create the place that can integrated creative hub, and also Jababeka has a big dream to create the ecosystem. It was like Silicon Valley. So our goals has the bridging between 5 pentahelix collaboration we called. So between the FabLab with the community, FabLab to academic, FabLab to industry and government, and many more. We do soft launching in 25 February 2021. So while the world get COVID pandemic, and yes, we are open. And then we are moving to the bigger one place, and we do grand launching in last month in 8 September 2022. So for next, we also to provide, it was like another FabLab for being digital manufacturing. We have a CNC milling, 3D scanner, 3D printer, and engraving, and so many more. Then to become research, we have a collaboration between FabLab and industry. This is our first steps to make a collaboration to industry. So we're trying to help them to improvise their system. So this is our projects, collaboration projects between FabLab and Jababeka Infrastructure Water Treatment Plant. So Jababeka Water Treatment Plant itself, it's established in 1991. It's already 30 years ago. So they never upgrade their system. And then they need to upgrade some system because they still get the data by manual. And this is the little video.
Clean water is a major necessity and an important source of life. Well aware of this, Jababeka, as an independent city developer, is committed to always provide clean water in Kota Jababeka, Cikarang. under the management of its subsidiary, Jababeka Infrastructure. The existing water source is processed with advanced treatment and eco-friendly technology to guarantee a high-quality clean water supply within the area for daily needs of the community.
Okay, that's the one from water treatment plant in Jababeka. Okay, this is the process how to water treatment plant in Jababeka provide the clean water. There are several steps. By the first steps in intake, the second step dosing, flow water, clarifier, sand filter, reservoir, and distribution for the last one. In intake, they catch the turbid water from the Kalimalang, which is the river over there. Then they put the turbid water going through the dosing. It's in the dosing they put the liquid called PSC. It's a polyaluminum chloride. It can make the turbid water separately by the mud. So then in the next steps is in the clarifier. When the PSC already mixed by the turbid water, they can separate by two. So because the muds have the a big mass, so they calm it down to the bottom of this place. And the top of the tank, it's already has clean water, and it become going to the sand filter. In the sand filter, they have a lot of level like sand, small rock, and etc. And then after get this filter from the sand filter, it will going to the reservoir, the place it's already clean water, and the last one is distribute to every each tenant. And this is research process that we are going. For the first observations, we are trying to get help them to increase the productions. And then the second one in needs, based on the observations, we collect the possibility for hardware and software that we will use to create the data flow and the design. And then the third one is the build. We started building the hardware and software as well as create project the timeline. And then the testing, we test the every hardware and software, and then fixing some bugs and do the improvise. And this is while we try to observations, because they have some of pain point. It was like because it's already 30 years ago and they never upgraded their system. So every hour there will be someone to get the data of the every sensor. It was like pH, turbidity, and water level, and collect by the write in the paper, and then we try, and then they collect the data and put in an Excel. So this is the problem. I think it's not good. So the problem is the data is going back to manual, and they didn't have no real-time system. They didn't have the unstructured storage. So for the needs for manual data capture, we're trying to digitalize the system. For our solution, we adding some microcontrollers such as Raspberry Pi and Arduino, and it become, for the reason because this is quite good and easily obtainable in Indonesia online store. For the benefit that they will gain, that we will took is efficiency time. This is like the real design. We're trying to create the 3D design, and then That's one is 3D print result because our project it can be implements while the real process because it will be disturbing them by working to provide the clean water. And then for this is for wiring and data flow, we try to create for the possibility about the hardware connections and also for the software connection. And this one is old wiring diagram that we use for the prototype in version 1. We use the two Arduino, but it's not very good option, so we changed the other one to Raspberry Pi, and that one for wiring in panel. And for this one, we trying to hardware testing before we use every hardware. We check for the power that every needs a hardware, and we do some wiring. It's a good things while the process for the prototyping. And we try to create the real one. Even this one is a miniature, we try to assembly like intake, aeration, dosing, fluctuator, clarifier, and until the reservoir. And we do some coding for the first prototype versions. We using the Python, and for the real-time database, we use the Firebase real-time database. Why we use the real-time database, cloud database? Because if we need to another water treatment plant, it's much easier than if we create the local database, because they have functions called REST API that can easily to integrate between the data and another database. For this one is the water treatment plant. As you can see, it's already wired, and then the panel already put on it. For the front end, we adding for the login, and this is the dashboard, because I think I'm from my background is back end, so I'm not so good for UI UX. So it was like a colorful one. But I have a problem, like there is something wrong. I'm not sure. I think because the algorithm, so we trying to change and upgrading for the prototype version 2, because there are have a delay between 10 until 20 seconds while I push the button. It might not be a problem if in the prototype. For the real one, because we have specifications for 400,000 liter per second, it will be more dangerous. So we try to create the new one. And this is for the version 2. We trying to create by Node-RED. It's low programming. We don't need to get many coding. It's more easier than before. And this our front end now, and here is the result for the video. Because in JavaBeka itself, the first to the tank one and a bubble and fetch the data from the turbid sensor and for the sensor and going to the tank. It will take the battery. That can be marked, ready to mark. Next one. calculator. They can mix the PAC, and we're going to clarifier. Like the channel filter is, and then for the last steps is reservoir and fetch the data once more. Trying to turn it off. There is no delay. Even we put the database in cloud. We also can monitoring the data and make a combination between the first water level in separate by 2 input and output as well. Okay, then conclusion. So FabLab as a research and development, because it's not just for the multinational company. In Jababeka also have a small and medium sized company, so they don't have the R&D department. So we hope we as a FabLab Jababeka also they can upgrade their own productivity and do a lot of upgrade for their industry and come to join with us and to develop some product. And the second one is digitalization is not always start from the expensive things. If it can works by using microcontroller, so why not? Thank you.
Thank you. That was very impressive. Next, we have Ari Starko. You're going to talk about new fabric, right? You're going to talk about Puebla fabric. Okay.
Hi, guys. Oh. Well, thank you. I have 5 minutes just to share with you 2 fun projects that we did in the textile area in our university. The first one is this project. It's made by Jaime Jesus. This is very interesting because he's doing this kind of job using twill, different layers of laser cutted twill. So he is making different figures, and if you want to see his work, I think it's worth sharing, because anybody can make it in a Fab Lab. And the other project I wanted you to share is a personal project. It's an illuminated, I call it an illuminated fabric. I wanted to make a cloth that could shine and change color. So I went to search for patents. There were 2 patents interesting. One of them, it was kind of a sandwich with fiber optics with mechanical notches on it, and the other was an Italian by Luminex, and when you search for patents, not all information is there. Actually, if you make a fabric, you cannot make this. I had to learn how to fabricate, how to construct, but the end result was very beautiful. But the cost is almost 13,000 euros a dress. I mean, it's not very Fab Labber. So I decided to make my own fabric. And well, the first problem was how to make the light to escape the fiber optic. You know, when you put the light, the objective deeper notch, the optic fiber becomes brittle, so and it breaks. And Professor Rotes, in our lab, we have these looms. I think we're gonna fablabize this loom for Bhutan because they are very expensive for what they are. And he helped me to construct the fabric with the taffeta and twill, one thread up, one thread down, and the fiber optic is between all those threads. And the twill, it makes the fabric a little bit softer. So, well, this is the construction, and the end result was this. And well, original, it was supposed to do this with the different color. The fiber optic is in the middle of the fabric. You could change the different colors. At the end, I choose to well. This is how I made the every fiber optic so it can match a single LED. I burn a little bit of the fiber optic. Up top is the same technique that you use with when you cut acrylic, that you put some fire and it clears itself. Well, that's how it end up, and maybe I'm hopefully I'm not gonna die with for the sake of the FabLab. Well, it's not working, but it's the light here because well, it's too much light. Actually, it works. So, and that's it. I used I don't know why the color of it's blue and yellow, because the LEDs are white. I guess I choose the wrong LEDs. But I mean, it was when you present to Neil, and it was the end of the at the end of the week, and it wasn't working. But at last, it worked. It turns out with these colors, and I wanted to share with you. And this is going to be our next project. We're working on that. Hope you like it, and hope you can make it in your labs. Thank you.
Thank you, Aristarco. I want a dress. How much? I want a dress. How much?
Well, this is very cheap. I mean, this was I bought the fiber optic in Amazon. They cost about $10.
Yeah, but you put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, but I mean, I just opened the path. Everybody can make it.
Okay, that's so great. Thank you, Aristarco.
Thank
Leonard, I think you are up next again. Are you here, Leonard? There you are. Yes. He's got a lot of energy. And he's going to talk about from Fab 0 to what? From Fab 0 to Fab Hero.
Thank you, thank you. Hello, everybody. I am going to talk about a project that we manage in Belgium. It is called From Fab Zero to Fab Hero. So we are a Belgian Fab Lab in Ghent, a Flemish-speaking part of Belgium. This is our team, our wonderful team. So what do we do with this project? We help people to become Fab heroes. So we give a couple of things. The first one are courses in digital making. That is open for everybody. So you don't have to pay much money. Everybody is welcome in the lab. And we started at the age of 16 for that courses. The second thing we do is we manage open labs, not only in our own lab, but in different labs in Belgium as well. So we connect a lot of labs, makerspaces and fab labs, to work together and organize open labs where everybody is welcome to come, free of cost. We give workshops to children. We start at the age of 6 at organizing STEM workshops. So we help them learning how to 3D print, laser cutting, but also soldering and working with electronics. We work on social projects, so we don't do this alone with our lab, but work together with social organizations to guide people from the lower classes of Belgium into the lab. So it's an open community that way. We train the trainers. So we help people, teachers, people who work in the social organizations to help other people. So we learn them how to use machines, how to give workshops themselves. And the last thing we do is we organize events. So much like this, but smaller in Belgium. And there all the makers in Belgium come together and talk about their projects. We have a Fab Zero Basic, so that is like the Fab Academy, but it's very easy to start with it. So everybody works on its own level. You don't have to know anything when you start with it. Then we have the Fab Zero IT, that is more focused on the IT world, like programming with Arduinos or Raspberry Pis. The last thing we have is Fab Zero Textiles, so that is bringing the textile department into the Fab Lab. So we work with textiles, we 3D print with them, we work with laser cutters, digital embroidery machines, and we help people to use those machines. The last thing we have is the Fab Zero Masterclasses, so that is for the people who already know a couple of things, and we invite experts from other labs or from companies to give masterclasses in the different labs in Belgium. So we have a network. It's not really a network, it's more a community of labs in Belgium that are connected. And we can't manage this alone. So we started the buddy system, where people who already followed the course help new people in the course. So we can't divide ourselves over the whole of Belgium, but we know a lot of people who follow the course in different labs, and they help other people, and this way the community grows. And that's very, very important. So what is the key to this project? What is very important to this project? That is, access is the key. The labs should be open for everybody. So like in our lab in Ghent, you don't have to pay membership. You don't have to pay if you want to use the machine on certain days. So it's open for everybody. Everybody can just come in, say hi to the people who work there, ask questions when they want. We focus a lot on digital skills. We are a Fab Lab, of course, so we focus a lot on digital machining. And this project, the people who want to follow it can do it by the pay what you can rule. So if you have a lot of money, then you can pay a lot of money for the course. If you don't have a lot of money, then you can just pay whatever you want to pay for it. I had a very good discussion with somebody over here already, but the difference between value and price. So we try to do this this way. And we learn a lot from each other. It are not only the experts or the teacher who give classes, but you can also learn a lot from each other just by going to an open lab, talk with somebody else who is working there, and then maybe you can share the knowledge. Sharing knowledge is very important. And one of the most important thing is you can do the course like you want. If you are not interested in 3D printing, for example, then you shouldn't do it. So everybody can work on his own level and his own way of growing. So the personal growth is very important in this project. Those are a couple examples of final projects. So we ask the students to also make a final project and present them in the different events we do. And it can be very different. So like those are more like high-skilled project, but other people make a beautiful lamp to put at home or something to put on your clothes, or it can be really different from everybody, so that everybody can use his own interest and his own skills to finish this course. So hopefully you are all inspired to start the Fab Zero to Fab Hero in your own countries as well. So thank you for your attention.
Pradita, are you here? I think Pradita is going to talk. Where are you? There you are. It's going to talk about something that we sort of started to talk about this morning a little bit, which is shelter, right? Plastic recycling shelter in South Asia. So just give us a second to get set up.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, it's really nice to be here. I'm Pradita Pradhan. I'm from Nepal. I work with Fuel Ready. I've been working with them for, I think probably for the past 4 years, well, more than that, I think. But yeah, I'm working as a program manager and run different programs in Nepal and work from Fab Lab Nepal, which is also the first in the country. So yeah, today I'll be talking about, well, this is the title, it's pretty long, Plastic Waste Remanufacturing for Local Housing, Innovation Ecosystem in Nepal. But to make it easier to understand what we are trying to do, Curie from University of Cambridge, she's here as well, who is the program project manager of this project. She's made it easier, calling it plastic to ghar, that is P2G. Ghar well, ghar is a Nepali word which means house, so that makes it easier, right, to understand. And I also will be making it I will be skipping a couple of slides. It's a pretty long presentation, but here we go. This is a project funded by SMEP, and they are working in all the, the dark areas that's being shown. So the main aim of the project is, well, what we are trying to do is distribute, the aim is to establish distributed small-scale plastic remanufacturing in the mountain areas of Nepal. So that is, that would be for the locals, by the locals, and with the local waste. Well, I would rather call it local resource. So as we know that the plastic is a problem everywhere. So that's the same in Nepal as well. So we burn, we send them to the landfills. And well, talking about the project, what we want to do is the end goals of the project is around sustainability, entrepreneurship, and business. So I think I'll go to the interesting part of the the project. So this is Nepal. This is how Nepal looks from a satellite view. So the stars that you see around, it's the areas that we've been trying to target. These are the mountainous areas. The cross that you see, it's the Tarai belt, which is quite accessible. So we are kind of skipping that part. And we have a particular reason to do that. Like this area, it's not so accessible. And I think probably if you have come, you visited Nepal, you know how it's like, the landscape. So, so yeah, So these are the areas that we've been trying to work from to bring in the local community people to Kathmandu to work on makeathons. And that is something I'll be explaining it in some time. So to make it happen, like I think I probably skipped the slide. Sorry. Okay, there you go. So, well, so to give you a general overview of the project itself, it's a 3-year project where it has been divided into 3 phases. So phase 1 has already been completed, which is around Makeathon. And so in phase 1, we completed a Makeathon where we had participants. Well, it was a global Makeathon. So the same thing, we will be doing it in the second phase as well. So there's a second Makeathon happening in November. And so which is, so Makeathon is something where we would be bringing in participants. The participants will be coming up with different product or, product ideas that they will be making out of the waste plastic, right? So that would be something around shelters. So the idea is, for the second Makeathon, we are trying to bring in participants from different parts of Nepal so that they understand the locals will have more knowledge about the problems that they have. So I think that's something we will be doing. That's the innovation development. After that, the selected groups will be incubated for for a year or so time. And then the third phase is around testing and piloting, let's say, scaling out the prototypes that they make. Okay. So for that, what we're doing is trying to engage with different stakeholders. We're visiting different parts of the country that I've already showed, and the technical part is so these are the different samples, but these are the machines that we're bringing in the lab, which luckily, finally got, we've got it after, I think, 6 or 7 months of trial. And probably I'm clicking way too fast. Okay, so for Makeathon, the thing that we're trying to focus around is interdisciplinary innovations. That is bringing in people from different, areas, and there will be sustainability challenge. These are the 3 main pillars, and then their ideas would be prototyped out of the lab. And for that, the machines that would be used were the ones that I just showed in the previous slide. So this is from a picture from the previous Makeathon. There are pictures like people prototyping. There are, the interesting part was in the first Makeathon, we did not, we were thinking of getting the machine, but then with the, with the customs issues and everything, we were not able to get them. So we ended up using clay and the local resource that we had to make the prototype. And yeah. So probably I'll be skipping these slides. This is about the Makeathon that's happening. But coming to the the expected, the impacts that we really are looking forward is around environment, society, and economic. Where obviously with the plastic waste, there will be if people are using the plastic waste to make something that is it's good for the environment, the society, they will have access to technology. There will be startups who would be working around different product ideas using the plastic waste. That would also give extra let's say income to the local community as well. So basically these are the 3 things we are these are the expected impacts. And yeah, thank you. So I think at the end, what I would like to say is if you guys are working around plastic waste, around the things similar to what we are doing, we'd love to get connected. We'd love to learn from your experience and also share. We have a team here, Curie, Sashank, Pallav, Andrew, so yeah. If there's anyone who's, working on, we'd love to know more. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradita. So their lab, the Center for Bits and Atoms and SolidWorks built their lab during the pandemic. It was so hard, I have to tell you, to deploy a full fab lab and to try and train remotely. It was really difficult, but we succeeded eventually. And also, I think, Palab, you took Fab Academy, which really helped a lot, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's wonderful. Okay. We're going to take a couple of minutes here to reset, and then we'll be back with our education panel. Okay, thanks. All right, everyone, if you are. It's my this is my favorite topic in the universe is education. And there's always amazing innovation coming out of this network and our community. And so we're here today to talk about some of that. Just a reminder that, you know, we're here really about designing emergent realities. So the sort of Fab City stack, you know, the very first layer is the infrastructure. So the Fab Labs and the machines and all of those kinds of things. And the second layer that we feel is really important to achieve what we want to achieve and be locally productive but globally connected is education. So education is one of the foundational layers of how we get there, right? How we get to be a sustainable planet and how we get to be a locally productive and globally connected community. So it's my great pleasure today to be able to introduce, do you like to be called Dinda? Or Athena first, Athena and then Dinda? Okay, well, so Athena is with the CAST Foundation, and she really does kind of work at the intersection of cultural storytelling and what would you say? Cultural storytelling and working with different platforms to communicate that, whether they be digital platforms or physical platforms. And so, Dinda's, you've been a journalist or of sorts, right? Yeah. Yeah, well, she's worked in media a lot. She worked as an editor on the Whiteboard Journal and a content editor at Tulisan and the cultural content editor at Flamingo. And she's also taken on a role as a co-curator in the Arts Incubation Program by Dialogu, if that's how you pronounce it, sort of. I'm sorry if I slaughtered that. At any rate, most recently she worked with the British Council here in Indonesia. And right now she's sort of exploring and working at the intersection of sustainability and different mediums of storytelling. So it's my great pleasure to introduce you and turn this over to you today, Dinda.
Hi, everyone. I know it's lunchtime, so I hope everyone's not too hungry and you can focus and to listen to this panel. But we'll try to make sure, and it's an exciting panel. I have with me respected panelists who are movers and shakers in the education world within different countries as well. So just to share a little bit of context before I ask everyone to maybe introduce themselves, our topic today is about education and innovation. So this is a broad topic, and this is an important topic for every one of us. So if I could just move a little bit to the next slide. 1 second. Yeah, so I kind of just like to bring in a little bit of context. So I know you probably cannot read much of what's written here, but yes, it is very tiny, but it kind of, oh, and then it disappeared. And here it kind of showcases how we are in the advancement of technology. Thank you so much. we are in the advancement of technology. So everyone is going to Industry 4.0, everyone is moving to automation. And then what we're seeing at the moment, news that are popping up is within the next few years, we'll be losing our jobs. So I'm not implying everyone here will be losing their jobs. What I do understand is everyone here is probably the first people who can adapt to the changes in technology. However, for everyone else, within 2028 or 2030, almost 28 million jobs in ASEAN alone will be lost due to automation and the increased adoption of technology. So that's quite alarming for all of us. So the question becomes next is, so this is data that was collected by my respected panelists here, Joe here. So Joe has collected data that at least by 2028, we will have a job displacement. So this is the main countries in ASEAN that will be first impacted. And then you see here, there's Indonesia, there's Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, and you're surprised to see that Singapore is on the list as well, because Singapore is quite advanced in technology. But apparently, due to this automation and change that's happening, Singapore is one of the countries that will be impacted first. So we see here the data that states 28 million people. We need to adapt and improve the conditions of learning, as well to see how they can enter the new type of workforce in the future. So just to bring it into the context of Indonesia itself, so within the past couple of years, this is the data that actually is collected from the Ministry of Education and Innovation and Research. So we in Indonesia itself, we are in a learning crisis. So everyone's talking about digital transformation. Everyone is talking about this movement in technology. Everyone's making, everyone's hacking. But in Indonesia itself, we are facing a learning crisis. And this was pulled and pushed predominantly by COVID-19. So when the pandemic hit, it became difficult for everyone. All students had to learn at home. All parents were in difficulty, like what do they do when children start learning at home? Everyone had to be connected through the internet, Wi-Fi, and some don't have access to that. So there was a shift and there was a big change that had to happen on that area, and which means it kind of showcased that a systemic change needs to happen. So that COVID-19 was more of a trigger. It was a trigger that, okay, we are heading into a direction of technological change and everything else needs to change. So the question now is, a systemic change needs to happen, everything needs to shift, learning centers need to develop, and we need to adopt to a new form of learning. So our question is, with our panelists here, because of these changes, what would be the future of learning? So I have here with me respected panelists. So I will ask each of you to probably introduce yourself as well. So because of the changes that we're seeing with automation and Industry 4.0, I would like to ask each of the panelists to share, like, what do you think the future of learning might look like to help maybe limit or to help us be prepared to the possibility of people losing jobs or not being able to adapt with future changes? So maybe I'd like to invite next to me, because she's quite closer to me, Sudebi Tatnurata, to introduce yourself and maybe to explain maybe what the future of learning might look like in your practice.
Thank you, Atina. So I'm Shudebi. I'm based out of India. I have been teaching at one of India's oldest design schools. I'm an associate dean there at Srishti Manipal Institute of Art, Design and Technology. I also lead, along with Probal, my co-founder, a design-led innovation collective called the Epicenter. I'm actually going to provoke all of us a little more with the question. I'm going to question, is there one future? Should the question be, what is the future of learning, or what are the futures of learning? Because I somehow don't believe there is one future. There are so many plausible or possible futures, and a lot of, I would say, challenges that many of us feel today in the present world is everything is kind of guided by one thing, you know? Like, so there are predictions with trends and mega trends that we get to see, and some people sitting somewhere get to decide where the future is going to go to. So my question is, future could be many, right? And the same future is not perceived or experienced in the same way by everybody. So whose learning are we talking about? Whose future are we talking about? And who gets to decide? So like you were showing in the slide or one of the slides, I feel like these are very interconnected like concepts. The future of learning is very intricately related to the future of work. And there is a difference between jobs and work, as we all know, or jobs and career. They're not the same. So I think the focus a lot of times goes so much into the jobs that we sort of forget that work is a much larger umbrella. To understand it contextually is very important. And this future of learning as it's connected to the future of work cannot be understood if we don't understand the future or the futures of the world, because there is nothing, outside the world, right? So when we talk about the system, sometimes, we start talking, I mean, many of us do that. We are all guilty of it, that we sort of focus so much on talking about the system, we don't always know which system are we talking about and where do I situate myself within that system, and there are so many systems which are interacting with each other, overlapping with each other, so we don't know what to focus on. So I feel one of my ways of understanding things or unlearning is I often question what are the sites of learning, and that is very political. When we talk about colonization and all that, I think our minds are a lot of times colonized in the way in which we understand what is a site of learning. And we say, for example, we think of textual or Eurocentric ways of knowing the world as one site. And I'm not saying it's bad or good, but I'm saying that's just one. But in the pluriverse, a world with many centers, there are so many sites of learning. I mean, and there are learning opportunities everywhere. So I feel that if we open ourselves up to be flexible, to be observant of what's happening around us, and which again, like, my problem about this is that if today as an educator, I say, oh, this is what the future to me looks like, and I start imposing upon my perception of that future today, by the time it gets implemented, the world would have changed. So I'm never really relevant, right? I mean, even before I start implementing something, it has already become obsolete. So having that fluidity, having that flexibility, having that freedom of thought to me is very important, and that's really the core of futures of learning.
Because the future itself is dictated by the trends that is happening at the moment. But at the same time, like for example, COVID-19, we couldn't predict that could happen. At the same time, it was difficult to understand what jobs or what are opportunities that might come in the future. For example, like design thinking or everything that everyone is doing in the world of design is something that didn't exist maybe 15 years ago. So that kind of developed on its own. So when we're talking about what future and whose future, I think it would be interesting to talk with Joe, because I kind of presented a little bit on your slide. You have a particular target that you are focusing in your practices. Maybe you can share a little bit. Maybe you can introduce yourself and also share a little bit about who you're targeting and what you're trying to do as well.
Hi, I'm Joe. I was the former deputy principal of Sing Poly, yeah. And in a way, when Oxford Economics did the research together with Cisco, what was very shocking was the 28 million people that will be displaced in 2028. But what was also very shocking to Singapore was we have the highest percentage of displacement, 21%, yeah. And that shocked the government a bit. And because of that, we embarked on Skills Future, and the government spent about $4.5 billion to kind of revamp the 23 industries to say, okay, what is the future skill? So we managed to get all the wise men from each industry and to discuss how should we kind of move forward. And so we came out with quite a number of training plans and all that. But like what she mentioned, the future is unpredictable. We can't predict it. Why can't we predict it? Very simple, right? 7 out of the 10 jobs, the future jobs, are hybrid jobs, and they are yet to be defined. So then how do you prepare the child for? What jobs are you preparing if it's still not defined? So you mentioned about design thinking. About 12 years ago, I started embarking on design thinking. At that time, there's none of this. But now you go to the banks, you go to the IT companies, you must do design thinking before they talk to you. Yeah, so things have changed. Data analytics and all that, so now everybody talks about it. 5, 6 years ago? Nobody. I mean, very few people talk about it. Yeah. So the thing here is knowledge is also changing very fast. You have AI, you have quantum computing and all that. So the half-life of a knowledge is less than 5 years. In IT, it's even worse. It's less than 1 year. So what do I do? How do I train my students? Pour more knowledge? That cannot be the way. Yeah. But the third thing that is most important is my kids are all digital natives. Yeah, they are very comfortable with digital trends and all that. And so how can we prepare them for the new trends that are yet to come? Yeah. So when we were looking at all this, we tell ourselves, if the jobs are yet to be defined, maybe the best thing to do is to make our the students very versatile, embrace change, yeah, have a versatile mindset. For knowledge that's going to change very fast, maybe the best thing to do is to teach them how to learn, which is basically what we are promoting, learning agility and making agility that we talk about. And the last thing about digital trends and all that. So can we actually teach our students digital sensibility? Teach them how to make sense of all this data and all this digital information. And also, more importantly, teach them how to digitally remake themselves. So to me, these are the 3 important skills that I have kind of, when I was in the Polytechnic, we spent our time focusing on that rather than just teaching them skills. So a very good project that we have done in Singapore, for some oddball reasons, 7 of the 10 top perfumery and cosmetic company, their regional headquarters is in Singapore. So what we did was we came out with an agile program. For the 3 semesters, the students will be kind of learning, but every semester they have to go and pick a skill that they want to learn. Not we want to learn, they want to learn. And we just ask them, why do you want to learn that? And if they can give us good reasons, we allow them to pick up on their own. So that's learning agility. You know, they are confident to pick up on their own. And then in the next 3 semesters, guess what? They are out in the company, working with the company. And so we, when we launched this project, chief scientists from Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, IFF, all came on board. And they were very excited because they see that the students are owning their own learning. They tend to be more proactive. They want to kind of make a difference and all that. So we give them passion projects to do. I think that's the best way because I can't predict the future, but I hope they can create the new digital future. And what we are doing right now is providing skills for them, the mindset, the skill set, and the sensibility, the digital sensibility, to enable them to kind of, in a way, ride this wave of change. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like an interesting point. I think with Sudebi, you were talking about like whose futures, and there's multiple futures here. And you're also talking about who are the audiences we're targeting. I think with Joe, you were talking about what needs to happen. It's not to see how, like what the future might look like, but it's to prepare anyway with skill set. With making sure mindset, skill set, and the ability to adapt. So you're talking about versatility, and then you're talking about adaptability as well here. So what I like to ask to Veronica here is the how, because you were talking about that skill set is important, versatility, and creating that mindset. And I think in your areas of work as well, you kind of engage with different communities to kind of enable the students, but the students are not just like students from schools, but different levels as well. So maybe you can kind of elaborate, introduce yourself, and maybe elaborate that as well.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Thomas, first of all, and thank you, Cheryl, and all the people who are here, and the honor to be with those panelists. I'm the chancellor of a university in Bolivia. The name of the university is Franz de Mayo. I am also the CEO of the Institute of Women in Business. I'm also the chairwoman of the Millennium Project Node in Bolivia. It's a think tank, a global think tank of futures research. But first of all, we are here, we are talking about future. We have to focus on realities, emergent realities. What happened with COVID? We are living a deep moment of learning poverty. All the people here, we are really privileged because in our countries, in South Asia and Latin America, 6 of 10 children at the age of 10 years old can't read and understand a simple text. And after COVID, it raises to 8 of 10 children in Africa, in low income classes. So what happened when this became the only way to get education? What happens when the whole world turned around and we stopped talking about how rich can we be? Because it was about surviving, it was about health, it was about accessing to education. What is the role of the educators in this moment? We need to revalue the role of educators. It's really vital, it's really important. We have to empower them. We have to empower young people. We have to empower children, and we have to help them to get out of this learning poverty and to be active. So innovation is, for us, changing the model of the university. We change the educational model. It's centered on the student. We need to develop skills, right? It's a mindset, right? It's knowledge, of course. But it's also how to share and to live together the well-being. Not just how we grow, but how we do it sustainably. How do we connect to our identity? What do we have? What do we have to share with the world? So yes, to do that, we change the model completely. That means change our mission, our vision, our philosophy, to have new cultural institutional values for the collaborators in the university. That means training the teachers to do the whole mindset, because our new mission is to transform the education in our country, in Bolivia. And if we want to do that, we have to start home, right? So we started this change. It's a huge change for everyone. Sometimes it's really painful because it's completely new, but it's really necessary because we are talking about meaningful learning. We are talking about long life learning. And we have to start in the university. And we also started to work with other schools, with the children, but also with educators in the schools. We created a network. The name of the network is Red de Innovación Educativa Latam. It's an innovation network for education in Latin America. And we do boot camps, we do different kind of things to empower teachers, to get this new mindset, to do the things differently, and to center the education on persons, because we are educating human beings. And it's only the only way to have something to do and create synergies with technology. Because if we want to be the first and to be more powerful than technology in this tsunami, we have to do it completely differently. So that's what can I share with you. And in these kinds of experiments and learning experience that we love to do, we also are trying to do some intergenerational experiences. Moms learning with their children, sharing knowledge, developing new digital skills, and yeah.
Yeah, so I think what I got out of you is I think you're already focusing a lot on the work of a systemic change. You're talking about how changing on a highest level, changing the curriculum in schools is important here. So we cannot learn the same way we learned like previously. You were talking also about the roles here, roles of educators, roles of learners here are important. So it's not just the students of like high schools or universities who should be learning, but everyone involved. So there's supposed to be an ecosystem of learners. Everyone should be a lifelong learner. And something that's always pushed around that talked about in the past few years is to have a growth mindset. So how can we have that growth mindset? At the same time, what was interesting here with what happened with COVID-19 and the shift in pandemic with Indonesia itself, all the students had to learn at home. They had to be connected to the internet. They had to learn from the home. So the roles here also shifted. It's no longer in the hands of teachers at schools, but it's in the hands of people parents, of course, should always educate their children, but there's a bigger role that they play, especially during the pandemic. And you mentioned having a program as well to make sure that moms can actually be educated and be empowered as well. So on that context, we kind of touch base a little bit on like socially as well, as you mentioned that it might be different in social contexts as well. Like how do people learn in different areas? How do people learn in different cultures? So I'd like to introduce maybe Pak Made to kind of share like who you are, and also in the context of Bali and also in Indonesia, in your area of work, what might the future look like, and why do you think like how can people in Bali with your area of work learn?
Check. Hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Made Artana from Primakara University, a local university in Bali. This topic is quite hard for me, so let me to speak in Bahasa. So Mr. Arya will have to translate. It's easier for me and more clear for you. Ya, teman-teman sekalian, Bapak Ibu sekalian, Bali itu dominan menggunakan industri pariwisata. Jadi kita juga banyak memproduksi SDM di pariwisata gitu. Seperti pengantar topik tadi bahwa banyak pekerjaan yang akan hilang, sebetulnya karakteristiknya adalah pekerjaan yang sifatnya repetitif. Jadi pengulangannya yang tinggi, termasuk adalah pekerjaan-pekerjaan di bidang pariwisata. Nah ini juga harus kita pikirkan, sehingga ke depan sebetulnya kita harus berfokus kepada kebutuhan SDM di masa yang akan datang. Yaitu yang banyak menggunakan kreativitas, banyak menggunakan daya pikir, dan tentu saja banyak menggunakan teknologi. Nah oleh karena itulah sebetulnya 9 tahun yang lalu kami mendirikan sebuah universitas baru, STIMIK Primakara, yang salah satunya memperjuangkan hal tersebut. Bagaimana kita bisa menyesuaikan diri dengan kondisi yang sekarang gitu. Mungkin Pak Arya bisa.
Okay, so here's the translation. So, ladies and gentlemen, so Bali is famous for its tourism industry. And in the tourism industry, of course, we need good human resources and also other resources. And lots of work or jobs in Bali especially are also quite repetitive, yeah? So that includes jobs in the tourism industry as well. And we need to pay attention to this. And going forward, we need to focus on the human resources, especially on creativity and also the technology. And 9 years ago, I founded STIMIK Primakara, the school, and we have been working on these issues since then. Thank you.
Ya, kalau masalah pendidikan, pendekatan pendidikan kita ke depan pasti banyak berbeda gitu ya. Pendidikan bagi kita sekarang itu tidak lagi berbicara atau mengajarkan tentang fakta-fakta, tentang bagaimana hal praktikal melakukan sesuatu, tetapi lebih kepada adalah melatih mereka cara berpikirnya. Jadi how to think-nya yang lebih kita tonjolkan. Dan bersifat human center. Human center itu apa ya? Berfokusnya kepada bukan konten-konten yang gampang untuk dicari di internet yang bisa dipelajari sendiri oleh si anak-anak gitu. Tetapi lebih berfokus kepada memunculkan motivasi belajar. Terus yang kedua adalah berfokus kepada cara berpikir tadi. Yang berikutnya adalah berfokus kepada bagaimana dia bisa menemukan bidang yang sangat tepat untuk dia tekuni. Sehingga dengan ini sebetulnya anak-anak itu bisa mencari sendiri hal praktikal untuk kemudian bisa diperdalam oleh si student yang bersangkutan.
Okay, so education is not only talking about facts. Nowadays, it's also not only about practical things, but it's more about how to think. And education is now more human-centered, and we should teach our children to be more motivated to learn, and we need to also encourage them to have critical thinking and also to find their passion, because that's the most important thing. We need to teach our children to find their passion they like, that they are passionate about.
Ya, kita bisa menerapkan banyak sekali metode pembelajaran, tetapi salah satu yang kami banyak gunakan belakangan ini adalah project based learning dengan pendekatan design thinking gitu. Ini mendorong anak-anak untuk bisa memikirkan dan menyelesaikan problem yang kompleks berkelompok gitu, tidak sendiri dengan tim, kemudian dengan pendekatan cara berpikir yang tepat. Hal inilah yang kita rasa menjadi kerangkanya mereka, nanti apapun problemnya mereka akan bisa menggunakan kerangka yang sama untuk menyelesaikan masalahnya mereka.
Okay, so we've been implementing quite a lot of learning methods, one of which is the project-based learning. And for children or for students, this is really good for them to solve complex problems, and they can solve them in groups. And then by using this method, they can also have better solutions, so they can find the solution themselves and use their own critical thinking to solve the problems.
Ya, di luar sekolah atau kampus, kami juga di Bali memikirkan untuk membuka ruang-ruang belajar yang lain. Kita di Bali itu memiliki lebih dari 4.600 balai banjar. Ini adalah tempat-tempat komunitas dari Banjar untuk berkegiatan, tetapi tidak terlalu banyak dipakai. Jadi ini merupakan idle asset kita di Bali. Nah, ini yang coba kita pergunakan sebagai ruang-ruang belajar non formal gitu ya. Jadi belajar untuk berkreativitas, belajar untuk bisnis, belajar untuk berinovasi. Nah, hal ini pun yang nanti mungkin ke depan bisa kita kerjasamakan dengan jaringan PepCity yang ada di seluruh dunia gitu ya.
So here in Bali, we have been opening a lot of learning space. And in Bali, we have 4,600 community halls that we can use as places or space for learning. For our children to learn, so they can learn about business and also innovation. And going forward, we would like to also collaborate with other FAB cities all over the globe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamade. So I think what's interesting here is I can see the connection with all of you is you find the importance of that mindset that has to be built. You were also talking about the shift of the ways of learning, that it's no longer a traditional model that needs to be applied, but we need to kind of shift into different ways of learning. Pamade was talking about a project-based learning that I think is being implemented in schools here as well as a requirement to focus on project-based learning. So my question sort of now becomes, are formal institutions and formal ways of learning still relevant and still important then? Maybe anyone that might want to answer, maybe Joe first?
I fully agree with him. Singapore, I am proud and also somewhat uncomfortable. We are very good at taking exams. So like, all the international benchmark, TIMSS, PISA, we are always #1 for many years. But the government is getting very worried because they know that knowledge is not the best measure of future. Yeah. So they want our students to be more future ready, to develop passion. So in a way, like what you suggested, like passion projects, we are now trying to encourage them to embark on that journey. Yeah, and that's why this morning when Janet talks about fashion forward, I fell in love with that. Yeah, the approach that they have taken. If I want to make some refinement or a project, we want them to define their projects. So we actually have design thinking. where they go and define their own projects first. Okay, so therefore they own it. Then you go and say, okay, now that you are defining a problem statement, you go and solve it. That is where all the problem solving, critical thinking and all that all comes in, yeah. Because what we found is not only just the technical skills, you also need to have the soft skills. In fact, when I was doing Industry 4.0, I tried to retrain the workforce. Many of the companies will come back and tell me this. Joe, the very technical things, I think we know how to train our staff because our industry is very kind of a narrow scope. But it's the soft skill, what we Singapore term as the core critical skills. I need you to help to kind of build into our students. So there are 16 of them. We have kind of, after talking to the industry, we defined 16 of them. 6 of these are on how to relate to people, how to be inclusive and all that. 5 of them is on critical thinking. And the other 5 is how to prepare you for the future, things like learning agility that we talked about. So it is that approach that we are taking. I think we also felt in Singapore that we cannot determine the future or cannot predict the future. So the best way to do is to prepare them. And so we want to give the students this passion project because nowadays, I think I was talking to Jones, the president of one of the university in America. If you give the child the project, they'll get turned off. But if you let them define their projects, man, they will kind of like, I called our new kids the why generation. Why the hell should I study this? Why should I do this? Why? A lot of whys, you know. Not my generation. My generation is like, if the teacher says so, I just follow. Here they ask a lot of whys. And so I think the fashion forward approach where you allow the child to first experience it. Then after, then they decide that, hey, I'm really interested in this. Can you teach me? That is the best time to teach them. But if you try to teach them upfront before they experience it, you're going to get a rebellion, yeah. So that's my thought process.
Yes. We invented Futures Weeks. Futures Week is once a year, and it changes each year from the city, each city. So we take the global challenges, and we see what is happening. It's the reality, it's the emergent reality. Climate change, gender equity, and education, and so on. So they know what is happening in the world, what is happening in the region, Latin America and the Caribbean, in our country, in Bolivia, and also in their city. And then we challenge them. How do they want to build a sustainable and friendlier city in 2030? So they choose one of the challenges. We collaborate with Peru, Fab Labs, with Sambio Creation, to find out solutions, to know how big is the gap between the reality and the future that they want to build, and how to do that, to accept commitments, and to start actions to change. We invite the policymakers, we invite the business people, we invite the leaders in the society to talk with these young people from secondary school and the university, because we want also policies that come bottom up, because the people who are designing the policies never know what is going on the streets, in the transportation, in the different neighborhoods where the slums are, where the informal economy exists, where the water problems are, where all the problems that we have as humanity are happening. So we did give them a voice. They became the protagonists of this change, because education must be transformative. It must transform the persons who are going to transform the world and the future.
Okay. So would you like to add something to that? Okay.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of your points. I feel that as you were talking about, this poverty of learning, in my experience, actually, it's a poverty of imagination. And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like if you look around, first of all, like you were sharing earlier, I think the moment we use the word learner, there is an inherent assumption it's about students. But we are all there, right? I mean, I guess the so-called educators need more of this than the students, because when children grow, they have no lack of imagination. We kill it as they grow up. It's like a systemic killing of children's imagination. And I think it happens all over the world. It's no one country which is responsible. Collectively, we are responsible for that, right? So I feel it's a very strange paradox that we are all in, right? So on one hand, you have this denial, right? The denial of the finiteness of the resources and everything that's around you. So as we go along, our lifestyles and everything is as if nothing's going to ever change. I don't think due to the COVID situation, things have totally changed. We are going back to square one so easily as if nothing happened. I can talk about India, how I don't see much change around. I think we have forgotten how many people died, what all has happened really, right? But on the other hand, whereas you can have an abundant mindset, which is very important, rather than having a scarcity of mindset, when we look at what we have or what we want, there is so much scarcity. There we are never happy about what we have. We constantly want more. So the question is that why can't we shift? I mean, I'm sure all of us have heard many times people talking about pivoting during the pandemic. I don't remember seeing many people not only talk about it, but really practicing it, to pause. I mean, maybe it was a call to pause for a moment and sort of say that maybe let's pause. Why was no one talking about pausing and saying this is a good moment to sort of see maybe something we are doing is not all right, So I feel that this whole denial of what is finite, but then constantly thinking of, this is where I need to go to, right? I mean, as Joe was talking about, I'm sure many of us have faced it. We are constantly looking for these capsules of templates or tools given to us as solutions. I mean, coming from a design space, I literally run away the moment a lot of people talk about design thinking. Am I saying design thinking is bad? No. I'm saying it needs to be seen, it needs to be experienced, which is why I was saying sites of learning, when we talk about them, we absolutely don't value experiential learning, right? So I have seen people coming after a 3-day boot camp somewhere, certified in design thinking or systems thinking, and then they're using a tool or template of design thinking, right? Day one, I am using a beginner's mindset. Is it that easy to have a beginner's mindset? What does it mean? Half a day, I've gained empathy. Can you imagine? Like, what a fallacy it is, right? Like, how can you have empathy in half a day using a template and you're just filling it up, that form is filled and you have gained empathy? And I really wonder, when you try to solve problem of the whole world, where even in one place, there's no one India. Like, even the Bangalore where I stay, each part of Bangalore is so different. How can I create one cookie cutter kind of a thing, one capsule, and then keep churning it out? And that's where, when I hear about, success stories, even during the pandemic, of different initiatives, social entrepreneurs and many other things, you would hear a lot about numbers, not narratives. And I feel that how can we talk about humanizing anything when we don't believe in narratives? And if at all there are narratives, they're so anthropocentric. It's not ecological or, like a larger, narrative. And which tells me that we haven't learned really, right? We are not very good in learning. It's almost like we just wanted this period to pass and tell some stories so that we feel very happy and satiated that, well, we have learned. So that's also a success story, that I have to make sure that I tell people I have used the pandemic to my advantage, because otherwise you're a failure, right? I have learned a new language, I have had a new hobby, I have helped these many people. What if your story of the pandemic is that you actually have grieved? You have just had pain, you didn't know how to make sense of it. You have actually not done anything. Why is that story not celebrated? That's a real story of most people, I think, right? So I feel like when we talk about learning, we need to take a pause. For me, having pauses, being playful, and I'm not using the word game, but saying playful, because when you're playful, there is nothing called success and failure. It's like a cyclical thing. You gain and you lose, and you gain and you lose, but that makes you more human in a very unpredictable world.
Sure, go ahead.
In a way, I have a slight disagreement with her, but let me explain why. Yeah. About 15 years ago, when I became the deputy principal of Sing Poly, I started to walk around, talk to my students and all that, and ask them, what's your passion? I see a blank stare. What do you want to do for your future? I get another blank stare, yeah. So I have a term for that. I call them the walking zombies. Yeah, they go into class, come out of class, go into class, come out of class, they go play computer games, sleep, the next day they repeat this. But that does not prepare them well for the future. And so what I've done for the 12 years that I was there, I spent a lot of time trying to give them opportunities to develop their play, their passion, and their purpose. Yeah. So one of the things, yes, you might think that design thinking might be too temporalized. We send our students out, and I will tell you a very interesting story. I'm very happy with that story. Was I had to organize for all the 5 polys to go to the poorest province in Thailand, Buriram. And I have a very beautiful cross-dresser, yeah. He is very pretty, yeah, because he dressed up and all that. And he was a complaint queen. You know, she said mosquitoes are attracting to him and all that. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to spend 2 weeks with this person. But the first week, when we talk about empathy, we ask the student to spend time with the family. And through that spending of time, they realize that, hey, you know, this Thai, they were trying to make mats out of wild reeds, yeah? Of course, it's very ugly looking and nobody wants it, and it's like a doormat kind of thing. But this boy is a fashion designer. So he said, hey, I tell you what, I can dye this for you and I'll teach you how to dye. I've never seen a guy who can sew so well. He make passport covers out of it. He make bags out of it, you know. And at the end of the 2 weeks, the villagers will give us friendship band, you know. So for me, out of pity, because I'm the coordinator, they give me one, yeah. But for that boy, he has from here all the way up here. And the most interesting thing about it is that he came and talked to me. So can you go and talk to my principal in my poly so that I can stay here for 1 more semester? I said, are you sure you are the same person, the complaint queen 2 weeks ago and now? But the key thing is he saw his purpose. The skills that I'm learning in my polytechnic, I can make a difference. And this generation, they want to make a difference as early as possible. I mean, maybe I wait until I get my qualification, then I think about making a difference. No, this generation, they want to make a difference tomorrow kind of thing. You know, they are always in a rush. So I think our job is to say, okay, if they are always so curious, they want to make a difference, how can we enable that to happen? I think that is our role. Our role is no longer just teaching, yeah, to be, you know, the stage on the sage on the stage, but more as a facilitator, more as an enabler. So yes, we do design thinking a lot. Our job is to bring business students, design students, engineering students to come together, and they want to kill each other at the first 2-3 weeks. But after a while, they decide, they learn that each of them has value, and they became best of friends, and they come up with very creative projects. Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify, I'm not against design thinking. I'm against templatizing it and using it as a capsule in the same way everywhere. Yeah. So what you said is exactly what I mean, that you need that time, right? You can't have a 2-hour empathy session and have empathy. So not against it, coming from a design background.
No, but I do understand your point. Is sometimes we have so much program. So learning at the moment is accessible for a lot of people, and I know when I'm saying a lot of people is people who have certain privileges, but at the same time, it becomes sort of just something that is short term. So you have all these programs you can join online. You have programs that you're there for a week or two, but then after that, maybe nothing changes. So you cannot build empathy within 2 weeks, for example. You can put the seeds there, but maybe that empathy doesn't grow. But I do understand emotional agility is important. especially by being in confinement during the pandemic, people are looking inwards predominantly. So what I understand in traditional school models as well at the moment is they're trying to encourage people to see from the lens of empathy, but also understanding emotionally. I think when we were growing up, maybe we didn't have like schools about understanding our own emotions, but at the moment it's open to a lot of people. So I think in that point, I feel emotional agility is important for education. But talking to both of Pak Madu's point and also Joe, your point about encouraging passion. I always feel there's like there's a danger in just promoting passion, because at this moment with a lot of accessibility, everyone can just keep on trying different passions. So it's not limited to one. And I don't feel that one person have to just focus on one passion. But at the same time is sometimes when you're trying things constantly, you ended up not being a masters of skills in one thing, but you become a master of skills of many. So maybe I just like to throw to Pak Made, maybe in talking about the sustainability of learning, and in the context of maybe in Bali itself or Indonesia, how do we ensure that by encouraging this passion projects or project-based learning, we can ensure that we get the best out of this particular learner?
Iya, sebelum ke sana saya ingin menambahkan bahwa anak-anak kita sekarang yang sedang ada di sekolah maupun di perguruan tinggi, mereka adalah generasi Z gitu ya, generasi Z atau post milenial. Yang kalau di Indonesia, saya kurang tahu di negara lain, itu karakteristiknya agak berbeda. Yang pertama adalah mereka generasi instan, jadi menuntut segala sesuatunya tuh serba perfect, serba instan, dan tidak mentolerir ada kekurangan-kekurangan di masyarakat. Yang kedua adalah rentan atau rapuh, jadi gampang sekali menyerah. Sering sekali karena saya butuh healing, padahal apa sih gitu ya. Terus yang ketiga adalah daya juangnya yang sangat rendah. Sehingga sebetulnya kalau ngomong pendidikan sekarang adalah kita harus berfokus kepada human center tadi itu. Bagaimana sih handling si student itu sendiri. Membentuk studentnya itu lebih sesuai, memiliki karakter yang lebih sesuai. Sehingga setiap tahapan daripada pembelajaran kita itu seharusnya menjadi opportunity bagi kita untuk menyuntikkan values yang tepat, menyuntikkan karakter yang tepat, dan juga adalah soft skill yang tepat gitu. Kalau kita ngomong komputernya, di sistem komputer ini sangat basic gitu. Jadi di bawahnya operating system lah. Percuma kita menginstal berbagai aplikasi kalau operating systemnya bermasalah. Percuma kita memberikan banyak skill kalau orangnya bermasalah gitu. Jadi kembali adalah handling orang itu harus lebih bagus, sehingga kalau berbicara tentang sustainability tadi, saya cenderung kita kembali kepada basic tadi. Membentuk karakter, membentuk values, membentuk soft skillnya yang baik gitu. Mungkin Pak Arya bisa nambahin.
So here, our students now, they are all, most of them are Gen Z or post-millennial students. And in Indonesia, there are different characteristics of students. Most of the students now think of instant gratification. They just want anything to be instant. They do not tolerate any something that they don't like, for example, or weaknesses. They only want things to be perfect or instant. And they can be considered as fragile as well. And they don't also have high spirits. When they want to work on something, they don't really work for it. And they just easily give up, something like that. And then this is why we need to focus on human-centered approaches for our students, so that they can have their character that suits themselves. And then we need to also improve character building for them. And then as mentioned by Pak Made, it is like a computer system. Yeah, so it's like it's under the operating system. So it's no use when we provide students with skills, but the students themselves do not want to improve themselves or do not want to learn, for example. And that's why for sustainability, character building is very important, and we need to also teach them values. Yeah, so character, values, and yeah, how to work or how to follow the fashion as well. Thank you.
Ya, seperti menambahkan tadi teman-teman yang lain, faktor empati juga menjadi konsentrasi kami, sehingga tadi kaitannya dengan project based thinking, project based learning, kita memberikan pendekatan mereka kepada kerangka SDGs gitu. Jadi mereka mencoba mengidentifikasi permasalahan yang ada di sekeliling mereka dengan pendekatan SDGs, kemudian mereka kemudian mencoba menyelesaikan permasalahan yang mereka temukan. Nah, kembali lagi adalah kita berfokus kepada kerangka berpikir untuk menyelesaikan problem-problem yang ada di masyarakat gitu.
Yeah, so again, we need to focus on empathy, on how project-based thinking learning can emphasize on this. And also we need to use SDGs approaches for our students so that they can solve their problems using these approaches. And also we need to improve their way of thinking so that they can be more critical in the societies. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. We have a lot of interesting point of views here. I know we're running out of time, but I just like to close maybe. We had similar point of views here, like how to make sure that maybe with the automation that might happen and people losing their jobs in the future, what is needed is the values and also the mindset and the skill sets of adaptability. So whatever happens, we're ready for it. At the same time, maybe just to close, I just ask like one of you to answer. What do you think would be considered the successful, what would be considered successful in terms of learning? Is whether they enter the workforce or they enter the industry, or what is considered successful as a learner? Maybe one of you can answer.
In the future, you have to create your own work because no country could create a work for everyone. So as you have ATM came, the cashiers don't lose their jobs. They had to do something else to help people to get a credit, to help people to access to financement. So it will be the same. Because when you talk about technology, you can use a 3D printer maybe one day to print an organ to save a life. And my daughter is going to ask me, you had to wait something to die to have an organ to save your life? But you can also print a little weapon. So that's why values, empathy, life skills are so important because we have to be human first.
Okay. So thank you so much. So I'm just to summarize, so I'm assuming that in terms of being a successful learner, it's someone who is able to create their own path by being agile and adaptable to whatever is happening. So thank you so much to the respected panelists here. And I know like the conversation of education is quite broad and we can go on for hours. So thank you so much for today.
Okay, I think it's time for lunch. So be back at 2 if you want to listen to this afternoon's talks, and we have a whole slate of beautiful talks this afternoon. And the workshops, of course, are starting at 2 o'clock. So do you have something else you want to announce? Sorry, the social program is happening right now. I didn't look at the schedule. So there is a social program happening right now on stage. We'll break it like 1:15 for lunch, okay?
Okay, just wait a second for the ones that are interested in performances, music, and art. I'm going to connect my computer. That's it. Wait a second before you see my email. The password. Frank, can you, or, so, okay, so remember that, is, yeah. So it is a festival. So I wanted to, no, I don't have music. So we have a program curated by Gato Latex, which is a very interesting Indonesian musician, composer, producer, music instrumentalist. I think you saw or heard some of his music and on the first party. Today we're going to have the J-Hub performances. This is volume 1. It's happening here at the Rice Field today at 7 p.m. From 7 p.m. From 6 p.m. So you can see from 6 p.m. Thank you, Ida, who is co-organizing with Gato the program. We're going to have Saddle, the Mars Attack, RD, and Jungle Kitchen. Tomorrow we're going to have volume 2 again here. It's a special one. I will let you know tomorrow. You will hear more about it. And also on Thursday, another program here that is going to mix technology, traditional technology, and novel technologies. And here's Gato, the curator, the man of the music for FabFest. Thank you, Gato. So, and then we have a party on a special place on Saturday, which is the real closing of the Bali FabFest in a special place. So for today, we're gonna have Saddle. As you can see, it's a Bali-based electronic music artist. I'm not gonna read more in depth, but I think it's a live performance or it's live? Composings, but DJ it, right? DJ pre-recorded composed. Mars Attack is live. Mars Attack is live performance. It's a band. RD also is live performing, right? So it's a kind of a spaceship setup. I highly recommend to see him. And then we have Jungle Kitchen, which is actually big time. They're really good. They're producers for some big artists as well, for Mose and other people around the world, more in the shamanic electronic music. So they're gonna be closing the day today, and so if you wanna wear your shamanic outfits, could be from your own country as well, and come and be at the party. So for you that maybe you don't know, if you wanna have dinner across the street, the stalls are gonna be open until 8 p.m. So you can stick around, have beers in the cafe, go for food across the streets if you're tired of the food at the cafe. And then come back and join us for the performances. Again, I think highly appreciated that Gato has jumped in us. I cannot say enough on how amazing artist is Gato and his crew. Okay, so yeah, see you around the day and see you tonight for sure. And that's it. Lunchtime. Yeah. Okay. Lunch break. Go and feed yourself.